Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from Maleev TV. This is episode 176. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
Connor's here too.
I feel like that wasn't as much of a come down as usual.
Yeah.
You don't have quite the pizzazz and energy at the start of that.
I forgot. I forgot to put in the pizzazz.
Yeah. Slacking already.
Well, like I had to read like so many books in the last 2 hours. All right, I woke up.
Now you just want to sleep.
I woke up a bit earlier than expected. I squeezed in a walk that I don't always do on Saturday. I came home. I ate some food, because normally I'm usually starving by the end of this show. This week I have the opposite problem where I ate a lot of food fairly soon before we started. So now I'm just sleepy. I want to be in a food coma.
That's it. I think that's why I took an accidental 90-minute nap because Paige woke me up early. Because if you play Pokemon Go, today was a community day, and she was stuck at work, so she was like, "Go out and get me a shiny," and I'm like, "Do I have to?" She's like, "Yes, you have to."
What's a shiny?
It's just the Pokemon in a different color, basically. They just look slightly different. But they have on these days that they do once a month, a certain Pokemon has an increased rate of getting it.
Gotcha.
So she's like, "Go out and get me one." So I was like, "Fine." And I thought, well, I'm out now. I'm going to get some lunch. So I had a nice big lunch. And I came back to read my comics. I got through 3 comics and fell asleep for an hour and a half.
As you do.
Yeah.
No, I had a weird sleep this week. What day was it? There was a day where I fell asleep for a nap at like 5 o'clock, thinking, I'll be out for a couple of hours.
Yeah. We were supposed to record in the evening.
And I didn't wake up until like after midnight. It was
it was about 1 o'clock when I was like, right, I'm calling it now. I'm just going to bed. And he's like, well, I just woke up. I'm like, great.
Good night.
It's been one of those weeks, all right. It's just a bit. October starts to take a lot out of me, all right. I mean, hell, I'm recording with Tim tonight. I've got to watch 2 horror movies as soon as we're done with this show.
Man, I'm so far behind. I haven't watched anything. Granted, my brother's been here, and we've been going on little trips. I've been to California and Arizona, both in the span of this week.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
I need
to sleep.
I need to watch Piranha after this. Any
You
German?
watched Piranha 2?
Not Piranha 2. I've not seen Piranha 2 yet. I'll get
That's
to
the one that...
James Cameron's directorial debut at some point on streams, I'm sure. But
that's the movie I was supposed to look up. It was Near Dark.
Near Dark, yes.
Near Dark is great.
Near Dark's fantastic.
I gotta see if it's streaming anywhere.
Yeah,
because he got very mad at me because there was this post going around last weekend. May have been earlier in the week. I haven't been at work in a week, so my sense of time is completely off. It said, like, it listed, movie monsters and put your favorite movie for each. And I put all Monster Squad, right? Because that's like a near perfect movie. And Pete said I was insane. And then when I gave my actual picks, he thought I was even more insane. So, and he's like, you want a good vampire movie? Watch Near Dark.
Yes. And I specifically picked Near Dark because I think it's a great vampire movie that will also work for Matt. Because as much as I would love to say, go watch Let the Right One In, which might
I've seen it. It's not my favorite, but it's good. Like,
exactly. That should be a home. That should be a home run.
It's a perfect film.
Yes, that should be a home run.
Perfect. It's fine. It's in another language, guys.
Oh
so
my
come on.
God.
I had to read.
I don't even. Do you know what, Matt?
I don't speak Swedish.
After this conversation, I don't even feel bad. I felt guilty. We did a vote, right, where people set in their top 50s and stuff, right? And we did the first half of the results. I recorded that this weekend. And at one point, I felt guilty because I made fun of you a little bit. Because Diabolic came up. And
Diabolique.
Yeah, Diabolique. And it came up, and I said, you know what? Even Matt loved this, and he's someone who says, I have to read. And I felt bad for making fun of you. And you've just justified it.
Here's the thing. That's a joke. I watch plenty of foreign films that I have to read. I'm just leading into it. But no, I'm also not a big vampire guy. So, Let the Right One In's fine. I think it's a fine vampire movie. Like,
Near Dark's because it's not a traditional vampire movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently it's on something called Flix Fling. I don't know what that is. If it's free, I'll download it.
I've never even heard of it.
Other vampire recommendations, The Transfiguration. It was a recent one that I watched, was very, very, very good. If you want a really stylish visual one, A Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night is stunning to look at. So here's some vampire recommendations. But we do talk about DC Comics on this show, and coming up on this week's show, we have a gauntlet of books. We have Event Leviathan issue 5, Superman 16. Oh, Carl gets a break when we start talking about books this week. We get Wonder Woman number 80, The Flash issue 80, Supergirl 35, Batman and the Outsiders number 6, Wonder Twins issue 8, Hawkman 17. That's my break. I'm going to get a snack during that double feature. Joker Year of the Villain issue 1, The Batman's Grave issue 1, and we'll round out with the first issue of a new Black Label book, which is Joker Harley Criminal Sanity issue 1. So
that's when I get my break.
Hefty week.
Speaking of snacks, I was very disappointed yesterday.
Why?
So I have recently become lactose intolerant, which sucks.
Welcome to your mid-20s, Connor.
Yeah.
Happened to me too.
Yeah. I did not realize donuts contain so much milk.
And
I may have devoured a 4-pack and gone, shit, this was a bad idea.
You're going to have to eat vegan donuts.
I'll just not eat donuts, to be honest.
Connor has to give up donuts. This is the best news ever. This is hilarious.
So when I started to get lactose, it's mainly from milk. I can still handle cheese and milk products in food, but if I drink a glass of milk, it's get out the way.
No, mine's pretty bad. When I was testing, just to be sure, I without thinking, someone at work offered me they offered me a biscuit, and I went, yeah, sure. So I picked one up, and I had a chocolate covered biscuit. It was a bad idea. That's all I'm gonna say. I was like, shit. Okay.
This isn't even slight lactose intolerance. This is extreme. This is like anything with dairy in it. You're just
he gets a whiff of ice cream and he's done.
Thankfully, I didn't like cheese anyway, so that was not that doesn't really hurt that much. So it's probably not as bad for me as some people. The donuts, that was the last straw though. That was right. Okay, this is bullshit.
That's the one that hurt.
That's the one that hurt.
I think vegan donuts may be quite nice.
Especially some fancy new donut place has just opened up not that far from me, and I was gonna go try it out. They give you like one donut in a box, and it's a huge, massive thing, and it's a decadent experience. And now I'm like, what's the point?
That sounds like you get birthday Millie's cookies do these. It's like the big cookie. It's basically like a cake, but in cookie form. With icing and stuff. I love those things.
These donuts are extreme from because I'd seen a couple of pictures on Facebook, but then someone brought one into work because they'd stopped by on their way in, and I actually saw the size of it, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's a big ass donut."
That sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah, now I want icing. I want icing in my life now. I'm just thinking about.
So do you guys prefer like the raised up kind of donuts, like the bready donuts, or the more cake like old fashioned donuts?
I don't know.
Because the older I've gotten, the more I just like the cakey kind. Like the raised ones are fine, but that they're really dependent on the frosting, or the icing, or the glaze. Whereas a good cake donut you can just eat by itself.
I think I prefer the cake. No, I think I prefer the cake ones, but I do like a more modern raised. Assuming it has some nice icing or something on it.
Yeah, like a maple bar. Like
a classic, good, freshly done. Just sugar ring donut.
Yeah, see, that's
fantastic.
That's what I'm talking about, like the raised bready kind of ones. Yeah, I mean, I just like donuts, period. So like,
yeah.
But when we go to Dunkin' in the morning, I'll get myself a blueberry cake. That's my go-to. Where it used to be a maple bar. Maple bars are fine. I guess I'll still enjoy them. Shoot, after this trip with my brother being out here and me eating like a raccoon that got into the Taco Bell dumpster, it's going to be no donuts for a while. Because hooey.
No, I'm just thinking of donuts that have got like cream in the middle, or.
I was never big on those.
Or those Terry's chocolate orange ones that have like the chocolatey orange flavored filling all around the ring of it. Oh, those things are so good.
Now you're speaking my language, Pete.
See, that's too much for me already.
Oh, no,
I like Terry's chocolate orange.
Oh, it's beautiful, right?
Yep, that was my favorite thing I got in Epcot from the UK candy store.
Yeah, Terry's chocolate orange is amazing. And then you have the variations, which are nice, where they have the pop rock inside it, or they have...
Yeah, that's pretty good. Then the toffee one.
The honeycomb one, and then they also have The dark version, obviously, is a thing.
Well, you can obviously around Christmas. Typically, they're a Christmas sort of related snack.
Right.
I mean, you can buy them year round, but they're just associated more with Christmas. And they do now like the boxes of like the individually instead of like a whole orange, you get a box of like the mix of all the different ones that you can get as like in the individual wrappers.
Like mini ones.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
Okay, now I just want junk food. Let's get away from this. Damn it. Let's get away from it.
So good.
Whose fault is this? This is Matt's
That's
fault.
mine. No,
it's Connor for talking about his lactose intolerance.
That's right. Oh, yes, Connor can't have donuts anymore.
Yeah. See, I can't really have chocolate anymore, but I'm not too bothered about that. I didn't eat a ton of chocolate anyway. I was always more into crisps and savory snacks than sweet things.
Salty.
So.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that your weight is not going to benefit at all from this?
No, not really, because I'm still going to eat a shitload of crisps and nuts.
You ever have chocolate flavored chips or crisps, as you call them?
Chocolate flavored?
No, covered.
Oh.
I've never actually had them sold to me like that, but in my youth, I did quite enjoy eating something chocolatey, so my mouth was all chocolatey, and then eating some crisps while my mouth was still chocolatey. That was
someone they brought in a chocolate fountain at work a while ago, and someone went hog wild, covering everything in chocolate.
That's always the case when one of those appears,
right? And someone like chocolate coated some Lay's potato chips, and oh man, I did not know I was missing in life. Like, it's good I don't have a chocolate fountain.
I'm surprised that you can't just buy that as a regular in Scotland.
Your diet is like way worse than mine. But for some reason, you like to crack this stereotype.
It's not so much a dig at you, Pete. It's about the Scottish culture. Yeah.
I don't know why there's this reputation that Scotland has any worse of a diet than England does.
Deep fry everything in your chippies. We
do
not.
Deep fried Mars bar.
Deep fried pizzas. We just don't do that here.
Isn't a deep fried pizza really just a calzone? And don't we know calzones betray us? So
no, because a calzone's folded over. The deep fried pizza is just half a pizza deep fried.
Yeah. We do not do that. That does not exist anymore.
For the record, I hate all these things. I hate deep fried shit.
It wasn't a dig at you personally. It was Scotland sells these things regularly. This is standard. You might not like them, but clearly enough people do that it's standard.
What they should sell is chocolate-covered peanuts. I would buy the shit out of those.
Yeah, those are called goobers. We have those all over
sells them. Every supermarket sells those.
Nah, not the way I'm thinking. No. Like, they don't
every supermarket it sells chocolate-covered peanuts, chocolate-covered raisins.
They don't do it properly. It's not up to the standard of which I would like. I'll tell you what ones I do like though is the crispy coated peanuts that have like sweet chili flavoring.
Sure.
Those are really nice.
Yeah. The yogurt coated peanuts are pretty good as well.
Well, I've not tried those.
Chocolate covered pretzels are a jam. Those are pretty good.
They have to be. I was going to say they have to be chocolate covered. I can't eat a regular pretzel without chocolate covered.
Oh no! I love me a pretzel from time to time. Not like I like a fresh pretzel. Like,
yeah, are we talking about the breaded pretzels or the
kind of the biscuit? The
biscuity ones. Because if it's because I've had a big like soft pretzel from like a stand which has like just like warm like caramel over it or whatever.
Like Stanley on Pretzel Day.
Yeah,
those are real good. But no, I'm talking about like the chocolate covered pretzels, and I'll sneak those into the movie theater and mix them with my popcorn. Oh boy,
I get that.
This is why I go to the gym. I eat like this.
Yes, despite all my talk, I've barely touched anything like this in recent times.
Yeah, he will be tomorrow.
I got it all for you, Pete.
I had a packet of Skittles about a week ago, and it was a delightful time because I hadn't had anything like that in a while. I'm being good, damn it. I'm being good.
Yeah, I'm doing it. In other news, yesterday for lunch, I ate half of a bag of beef jerky and part of a small bunt cake. So
I had beef jerky for the first time like 2 weeks ago. I am a fan.
What flavor?
I had it was a regular one, and then I've got a bag of ribeye flavor.
Okay, that's just smoked beef. Yeah, we stopped on our way to California. There's a place called Alien Jerky. They're like a famous stopover from the way to Vegas to LA, and they have the sweet and spicy flavor. that, oh man, it's next level. So I had that left over, and I was like, well, might as well get rid of this. So
I love that Matt started that with. In other news, for lunch the other day.
Yeah, as if it was completely unrelated.
that's called a swerve.
I honestly don't know if I should keep all this in or edit it out and put it on Patreon. I have no idea.
We haven't even got to the news yet, and we're like 15 minutes in.
Oh dear. Oh man. Alright, yeah, let's talk about what happened this week. Not a lot, admittedly, but a couple of things popped up in the world. So Andrea Lima Arujo, one of the artists who was on the Millennium two-parter, and was also on one of the other Bendis books, Young Justice. He did some of Young Justice last issue. I think so, yeah.
Yep, the stuff in Bolivia.
Yeah, well, apparently he is working with Bendis on a creator-owned book at DC under the Jinx World banner. So we don't know what it is yet. He just revealed that on Twitter, and they're working on that together. So who knows what that'll be? So it's another Young Justice-y thing because it's under the Jinx World. Well, actually, no, it doesn't.
Well, no, that's Wonder. Jinx World's
yeah, you're
the
right.
other stuff.
Yeah, Jinx World's the just the Bendis creator-owned stuff.
Yeah. So the way I like Bendis finds an artist and he's like, hey, we're doing a creator-owned book, and that writer's like, or that artist is like, hell yeah, we are, because he did it, I think, with Sorrentino.
Mm-hmm.
He's, of course, with this, with Maleev and all this. So
yeah, his art was quite good. I blame Newsarama for my hiccup because I've got a photo of the stuff from Young Justice from last week at the top.
Probably just to show you this is his art.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be why. I
mean, it doesn't seem that unusual for them to do that.
I'd say it was unusual. I'm just saying that's why it was on my mind.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna go get some donuts after this and
you do that.
Enjoy them.
I'm not gonna lie, I like donuts enough that I'm sort of maybe willing to risk it.
Connor, you should be, because nothing worth having is not nothing worth having's not. Wait, never mind. I'm gonna say it's not the pain.
Nothing worth having isn't worth a little nasty trip to the toilet, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's my relationship with Taco Bell. I know it's gonna happen,
but it's worth it.
But it's worth it.
Next, this is something that actually came out of New York Comic Con after we recorded last week. G. Willow Wilson, obviously we knew she was leaving Wonder Woman for what she called the Dream Project, and that seemed to almost be a little bit of a wink because she's taking over the Dreaming in 2020 with artist Nick Robles. So I think for us, especially me and Matt, this is kind of like, okay, well, she's away in a world now that we're not going to look at, and okay, if it means something to her, then great, but obviously we'd rather she's on Wonder Woman, because...
You know what? With her style that I know from Wonder Woman, it makes sense she'd go to, that section of DC, you know. But
I think, what's interesting is I think she was mentioned, I don't know if it was in the panel, she was tweeting it, she was saying that since she left Ms. Marvel, she hasn't really felt like she's been on her A game. So obviously including Wonder Woman, but she says, the first work she's kind of been doing for this feels like it's back, which kind of has me excited. If the Wonder Woman stuff was not her best work, then okay, I'm interested. And she's bringing back Shakespeare as well, who was a character in the original Sandman run.
Bringing back
Shakespeare. Know who Shakespeare is.
Who wrote a bunch of plays back in the 1500s.
We all took an English class. We know about sonnets and iambic pentameter. It's fine.
My point was there was a whole bit with Shakespeare in the Sandman run that was really great. So it's interesting to see.
You know what, Matt? People make a big deal about Shakespeare and Sandman, but it was much ado about nothing.
Yeah, King Lear.
Peter had this really relatively sophisticated joke there. And I was just like, hey, I know Shakespeare titles too.
What does Shakespeare say when he sees his friend across the street? He goes, Othello! Othello!
That was not as good. Should have quit while you were ahead.
That was a right. That was a. I should have saved that one for the 12th night. I was just remembering the stuff I had to read in college.
Oh dear. So that's that. And just a quick thing here. DC has informed everyone that Batman Last Night on Earth issue 3 has been pushed back 5 weeks to December 18th. It was meant to come out on November 13th.
Yeah.
So.
And the interesting thing there too is Snyder and Capullo both said that it's getting extra size, but it's not going up in price.
Yeah, it's going to be 54 pages, which is
and it's
huge.
Yep, and it's still the same what they got it for.
Which is what it always was.
Yeah, it's a $6 book, and I think what was it before? Like 40 pages, 48.
I think so. Yeah, 40.
And now it's going to be 54 for this issue. Yeah, so I mean, I get.
Yeah, they said that was one of the reasons it was pushed back. Obviously, extra work, but also that the pair of them did some work on Spawn 300, and they were helping out on that, so that kind of took away some time.
Spawn.
Well, why is Sean Connery saying Spawn all of a sudden?
No, it comes from a podcast I used to listen to. When anybody would say Spawn, they'd say it's super long and drawn out. So,
what's your favorite comic book, Mr. Connery? Spawn.
Get out of here before I punch you.
I will see you tomorrow, Mr. Connery, about tennis. Tennis? I don't even have a racket. Anyway, I like that joke.
I've
heard it like too many times before.
Yeah, I just like Pete doing an affected Scottish accent because he already has one.
Yeah.
So
but he puts on an extra one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a hat on a hat, and I'm a sucker for that.
Does it? I mean, can you tell him doing a different thing? Does it get more?
Yeah. No, Sean Connery's a distinct voice, just like. That'll be like me doing a John Kennedy voice, like
Miss Moneypenny.
So like, it's its own thing.
Pushy galore met me at the airport. Yes, for those of you who are too young to know that, there was a character in James Bond called Pussy Galore. That was a thing. I'm not.
There's a whole movie called Octopussy.
There was.
Yeah.
Like.
God. Dear. I think that's when the people who make the porn parodies have a hard time, is when the title's already erotic.
Where do you even go from there?
Like, it's already dirty. Well, what may I do now?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, so yeah, that was basically the news. Not a whole lot to go on. Although
I got a few of the little bits.
Yeah, Connor's got some rumors that are actually quite interesting.
No. Even before we get to the rumors, I've got some actual news. First up, Batman 81, which I think is next week.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just going to be Romita Jr. We're getting at least some pages from Gerrard's as well.
Whiplash.
Yeah, I don't know how many pages, but he's now credited as some work on that issue, which is immediately better.
I mean, it's going to be like I can't even imagine
turning the page, going from one to the other.
Yeah, that's baffling. That.
Yeah. Exciting, even if just because, well, the less Romita, the better. And the other one is actually a bit bigger. This came out of the horror panel that was at Comic-Con last week. So we had Joe Hill there, talking about his line of Hill House books, and it seemed like he announced another one. Although I didn't realize it was an announcement at first. It's called Plunge. He said, it's going to be...
It's what Connor needs after he's had some donuts and went in the bathroom.
How's it going? It's on his game today.
It is. I'll give it that.
Look at that. When he gets more sleep, he ends up working out better. Weird.
Yeah. Hill told the crowd it was actually going to be his riff on Carpenter's The Thing, which is already pretty exciting.
I feel like we heard about this though.
Maybe I'm seeing it as announced as a thing that we didn't know about. But then here's the thing: definitely completely new news is the artist on this is going to be Stuart Immonen.
Sign me up already.
Who apparently kind of retired. It was like a 2018, early 2018. I think he kind of retired, where he was like, "Yeah, I'm done now." He was on whatever big issue of Spider-Man it was his last one.
Well, the last thing I remember reading from him was when Bendis was on X-Men, and he was doing one of the X titles.
Yeah,
they're all new. I think he was doing all new, which is the
that
time
sounds
one,
right.
and it was great. And then he just kind of fell off. So
You know,
So-
that's exciting.
you know,
I like him in it.
retirements in comics are starting to seem like a lot like retirements in wrestling. They mean absolutely
True.
nothing. So we'll go on to books then, finally. And you didn't hear it there, but there was about 10 minutes of wrestling talk, which will be on Patreon in the next day or two, for those who care. So Connor's disappeared for a second because we're doing a couple of books that he's not on to begin with. Event Leviathan issue 5 to kick off with Bryan Michael Bendis writing, with Alex Maleev on the art. And Lois has went to her second team of investigators, and they have basically ruled out all of the prime suspects. It's not Talia, it's not Batgirl, it's not Waller, it's not Bones, it's not Trevor, it's none of them.
It's not Max Lord, despite that's who the internet is favoring, which that line killed me. This is the first thing I read on Wednesday morning. And I got to that line, and I started laughing like a maniac. Because it's like, Bendis, you guy, you. Because he knew what he was going to do by the end of this issue with the tease of who Leviathan is. So as he's ruling out these other ones, you're like, well, are they sure? Because then they get to the point where they tell Lois that the person that's most suspect is Sam Lane himself, which she's almost in denial about. Because she's like, well, no, he was attacked. And they bring up, there's like, well, if someone's going to be down with what Leviathan's doing, it's going to be dear old dad.
Yeah, I mean, they open a portal to go see him, and then obviously end up fighting off some bad guys. Although it's worth mentioning that before they go, Batman and Co were listening to this other group's conversation, and Lois knew they were, and Batman knew she knew they were.
Yeah.
just to get that convoluted bit of logic out there. But
I also love Bullock being impressed that she stole one of the Batmobiles.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah, and Constantine wants to steal it now. He was like, I'll stay with the car. I'll take it. I mean, I'll steal it. But they go to see Sam Lane, and it's because there's a nice touch where Lois tries to talk to Superman, but Superman's off planet. We saw him leave last issue. And
with Plastic Man.
With Plastic Man, indeed. And they go to Sam Lane, and Sam basically, he says that the reason why they think it's me is because he actually thinks Leviathan is right. He does agree with the general sentiment, but it's this kind of thing. The art here is so good; it's so moody. It's all these blues and greens, and it feels like again we're in this kind of shadowy, conspiracy going on. And then a Leviathan member shows up. I love how we revealed these helmets just recently, and all of a sudden, there's 3 books this week that all have characters popping up with this look in it.
Wearing them. Yep.
Yeah, nice bit of cohesive, universe storytelling there. Yeah. So they all sort of rush out because chaos is happening, and Lois ends up with Sam Lane, with her father, just in the mountains somewhere, just holding them as he seems to be dying. I mean, it seems like Sam Lane might be gone.
Yeah, because there's going something about the snowman ticket, which I still don't know what that is because it never was explained. But that's what's going on here. Because it looks like he's saying it's all in the snowman's ticket. Look for the snowman's ticket. All of it for you. I left it only for you. So
yeah, and I think one of the things that really works with the art here, especially the coloring, is we go from the like I say, the blues and the greens of this dark shadowy world. When she's alone with her father on the mountain, it's all of a sudden a very natural earth tone kind of
very drab.
Yeah, it feels more natural, as what I would say. So her crying in the snow. Just it really hits because it's a pretty much silent page. There's one little box at the bottom that leads into the next page, but from Lois and Sam themselves, there's no dialogue, there's no narration. It's just the moment. So that's really good. Superman with Plastic Man are inside some technology. It's like a bubble. This technology that was designed originally in case John Kent became trouble during his pubescent years. That was a whole thing.
In case his puberty took the wrong turn. Yeah. Being Kryptonian. Yeah.
So, and Leviathan's trying to use this as a way, doesn't that just confirm everything we've ever said, that they're a bunch of untrustworthy people and the world needs to be fixed and you have to Like, just let us do our thing. Because he says that the plan was that you'd be off-world the whole time, and you'd come back to things already having changed, and you'd just sort of go along with it. But of course, true to your reputation, you got here much quicker. But what I liked about this is this idea. I'm going to tell you something no one's ever told you, Superman. Not all of this is your responsibility. You can let us fix this. You can just protect the world after we're done. Because we're not here to destroy it. And Superman's not really accepting this. He's not really, just buying what he's selling is the exact phrase I think he uses at one point.
Yep.
But no, I like this. I like this build to like who this is, what the motivations of Leviathan are, and we cut between this and as Bullock points out the Bat Van, and they're debating with who this is, and it all builds up to this kind of thing where Damian starts to consider something. He's like, hey, Manhunter, you weren't the first Manhunter. That stick you've got, that Manhunter tech. Like, who else has used that? Who else has got access to that? And is this how they're in some ways keeping tabs on what's going on, kind of thing? And it's as this is happening, the same with Superman and Leviathan is building up as he's like, I know everything, and Superman's like, hey, I'm leaving now. If anyone wants to come with me, this is where you can come. This is where you can leave. And Leviathan, this is not a mask. You think I'm wearing a mask, but it's not. And he starts to unmask. The mask starts to open up, and we see Superman's reaction. He says, "You." It's like that classic shock of like, "You," but we don't get to see who it is yet. We don't get to see who it is, but we do obviously have this strong implication that it might actually be a previous Manhunter.
It's someone that has a background in the DCU, who's Superman might have ran into, right? Because once that mask comes off, he recognizes the face. So, do we want to talk about who it is, or do you want to get to the end of the issue first?
I'll
think it is.
I'll just say the end of the issue is the Bat Van gets hit by a rocket, and it's Talia who's like, "I'm here to save the world," but in her very Talia-esque, I don't care about things way. So.
Oh yeah, she is. I couldn't shut the door. Sorry, couldn't find the cat. I want to make sure she didn't go out sneak out the back door.
Okay.
She's here. Anyways, so it's Talia and good old Silencer.
Yeah, old honor.
It's Mummy.
Which is cool, which is a nice little reveal at the end, actually. But yeah, as far as, do you have a solid guess as to who this is?
Yeah, so me and a friend of the show, Talking Superman, got talking about this on Wednesday. And because we both, as soon as we read this, dove right into the internet research of the Manhunters. And there's a list. Let me pull up the list of them. And you had to go through, like, the history of Manhunter. Manhunter's been around for as long as DC's been around. That name has been popping up since, almost as long as Superman. So there was a lot of suspects. But one of the primary people that wore it before Kate Spencer was a character named Marc Shaw, who was part of this almost cult around a Manhunter droid, like from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And his whole thing was he wanted to clear the world of corruption. And if that meant taking out superheroes at that, then it was fine. So he was never like a bad guy. He was almost an anti-hero in that. And so basically that's how Kate takes over, is from this Marc Shaw character. Now, with Marc Shaw and these other ones, there's also cloning and look-alike droids, and it's all very it gets very convoluted as DC continuity does go. So I don't know how much Bendis is going to go into this, but if you go back to the last issue, Talking Superman pointed me in the direction of a panel from there when Batgirl's trying to break through. And one of the things that it looks like she's saying, it looks like it's cutting out, is MRK, right? So like Mark, and then SW. So is that Bendis leaving breadcrumbs? Is that him getting ready for the swerve? Because he could very well clear us.
Yeah, because
swerve us here.
Because part of me's thinking that it being a Manhunter's too obvious now. I feel like the swerve here is going to be that it's not actually one of the Manhunters themselves.
See, I think it is going to be, and I think that. So we talked about that timeline that came out of Comic-Con last year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year.
Last
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm starting to wonder if this isn't going to have to do with that, because again, Manhunter's been a character that's been around since the Golden Age here. January 1941, Adventure Comics 58 is when a character named Paul Kirk, but he was more of a private investigator and whatnot. And then Adventure Comics 73, they established a new Manhunter. That was Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, so that's a pretty big deal. But then in the 70s, they brought him back, and that's where you had he's kind of the anti-Batman. So I don't think it's this version of him, where he kind of looked like he was wearing a samurai garb. It's very weird. But he was basically, he carried weapons and like shurikens and stuff. And he's supposed to be the Batman, but if Batman used blade weapons, I mean, it was the 70s. But that was a character, that was the one that had the council that I was talking about, where he wanted to save the human race from dangers such as nuclear war, pollution, overpopulation. And that seems very much in line with Leviathan, right? Like they're basically trying to save the world from itself.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
Right?
Yeah.
So then that's where you get to Mark Shaw, and he was a public defender, a lot like Kate Spencer's a district attorney, right? And he was unhappy with how easily criminals manipulated the system to get off without punishment. Again, that feels like Leviathan. You look at the mask for Manhunter of this era, it's very similar to the Leviathan mask and the mask that the Leviathan characters are using.
Don't get me wrong, I am not shocked if Bendis is pulling from this sort of stuff, because it feels very Bendis-y to do so.
So this led to a whole discussion too this week. Well, I don't know if this led to it or if it was X-Men, about continuity in comics. And there's groups of people out there that think continuity is stupid. But, you know, me being the resident continuity wonk, I'm a fan of it. I like when stuff that has happened in the past, you know, and you can retcon it, you can use it as you want. That's why I love, you know, Jeff Johns so much. This feels very Jeff Johns-y of Bendis. So if this turns out being this Mark Shaw, you know,
on the
everything's there.
On the timeline stuff, there's rumors apparently about you know, because it's split into four. The timeline they put up, it's split into these four phases. Apparently, there's rumors that the DC's planning to enter a fifth phase by the end of next year, which honestly sounds quite plausible. I mean, there's a whole lot of like a sort of sub rumors into that about like who's going to be Batman, who's going to be Wonder Woman, so on and so on. But like the core idea of them introducing this phase system and saying here's the continuity timeline because they're planning on a new section of it actually sounds quite plausible to me.
Well, I'm wondering if that is what this whole idea of the new Batman too, if that's where that's spinning out of, is like this is a Batman in the future in this new phase, and it can run concurrent with what stuff going on right now, you know. But yeah, so I'm definitely in the Mark Shaw camp of who it is because of everything that checks out, and I mean the similarities between Shaw and Spencer. Of course, he'd set her up as a patsy.
Yeah, I can't argue with the sleuthing here. The details all make sense. Yep. Part of me is just expecting a swerve though, just because it's at this point.
Me too.
Bendis is shouting at it. You know, he's shouting at you. Hates this guy, which makes me think that there'll be a swerve in the final issue.
With how convoluted the Manhunter thing is, it could be any of them. It might not be Mark Shaw, right? It could be one from the past or whatever. But I definitely feel like I was expecting a checkmate thing, you know, and turns out none of them have anything to do with checkmate. So they went that theory out the window. But yeah. The event Leviathan was real good, and not just because it set me off of this on this wild goose hunt of Mark Shaw. And
no, I mean the stuff with Lois and Sam was really emotional. That was good stuff. You know, Lois's doubt, you know, and not wanting to believe that her father had anything to do with it, and then kind of what seems to be his death, or at least very close to. Really good stuff. So, and Superman's conversation with Leviathan I also found very enjoyable, mainly because, again, it was this ideological thing where, it did feel like Leviathan was saying, hey, Like, we're not here to like destroy you or fight you or take over the world. We're here to fix it, and then you can go back to being Superman immediately after. Like, it felt like a different pitch than the villains would normally give or take, which I like. So now,
and I also like there was a line in here, scene right before it gets to them, right before the thing crashes, the bat van, that Damian's like, well, it's somebody we know. And Batman's like, well, no, it's someone with access to intel. That's different, right? And then that you put that up against with Superman going, you. So clearly it's a bit of both, right? It's someone that Superman knows, but it's also someone with access to intel.
Well, here's a question, though. What if Superman only knows who it is because of the timeline he's from?
Right.
Because there was something else this week about, or maybe it was last week, about someone having memories from a certain timeline because they they remember pre-Flashpoint.
That was Lois.
That was Lois.
It was Lois. You're right. Yeah.
With Rucka, that's what set me on the checkmate thing. So
it wouldn't shock me if the only reason why Superman knows who this is because of what timeline they're from. If this is someone who's not actually been a part of Flashpoint's, that part of the phase, if you will. Which is interesting that we're playing more and more with that kind of stuff. Like, I almost think that after a couple of years of Rebirth, where the word Rebirth kind of died down and it felt like Doomsday Clock was being treated separately, that I think we almost expected them to kind of stop teasing pre-Flashpoint stuff, but it kind of feels like recently, now they're very much embracing the idea that, okay, that did happen in some capacity, even if a lot of the characters don't remember it. It feels more intertwined with current continuity than I think I was expecting, given how they seem to be distancing themselves from the idea of Rebirth. I'm not complaining, though. I'm not complaining about any of this. I'm glad they're doing this. So
well, and if Doomsday Clock's lasting image or lasting thing that it brings is the metaverse, that the idea of the metaverse is what would lead way to this differing timeline things, like stuff that happens that changes our world, changes theirs and whatnot. Like, I'm okay with that too. I know that wasn't the original intent of Doomsday Clock, but we're so far past that line that I'm very excited for all of this though. Like, again, I'm the continuity wonk. I want to see how the pieces fit together.
Now, and I do get the feeling that whatever Bendis is doing in Event Leviathan is more about setting up future stuff than it is about just having a complete story right here and now. So I am looking forward to whatever that may be, and whatever this identity of Leviathan and what it leads to, because I feel like, it's probably going to lead to an actual proper event at some point, or at the very least, something either in action or his Legion or something. Like, it's going somewhere. I don't think it's just ending completely with issue 6 of Event Leviathan, is what I'm saying. But of course the art was gorgeous. I mentioned a few things about the colouring, but the art, obviously, Maleev is fantastic through and through. Really not a negative word to say. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm giving this one a 9. I really enjoyed a lot what that was going on.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that, to be honest. I'll give it a 9 out of 10 as well. It built the intrigue and the build to the reveal, even though we didn't get the reveal itself, but the build to Superman seeing who it was felt really nice, intercut with Damian's kind of realization in the car. So, no, very, very good. So that'll take us on to Superman issue 16. Bryan Michael Bendis again writing with David Lafuente on the art. This is the return of the Super Sons. This is John coming to see Damian, and Damian freaking out because John is now like 18 or whatever he is.
Which since John came back, this is what I've been waiting for, and it is out just as I thought it would. Damian does not disappoint. I will say my negative for this is the art. I'm just not a fan of it. It's not bad. It's just not my thing. It's overly cartoony. It almost has a manga style to it. And I'm just not digging it. The proportions seem to be out of whack throughout the whole issue. So, and if people like it, I get it. It's just not for me.
I feel like it's actually a lot closer to what Super Sons typically look like than it's not. I mean, it's not the exact art that they had, but it's definitely closer.
And I get them trying that, but it wasn't the same as what I was getting in Super Sons, or even with what's his name from Young Justice, and then he left.
Tim's, or I mean,
not Tim's, Gleason. You know, I get how it's kind of going for that vibe, but it's just I
Yeah.
did not enjoy.
It's a very consistent, confident art style. But yeah, it's just maybe just a bit stylized depending on what your taste is. Um, Damien throws batarangs at him when he first shows up, and they sort of ting off of his head because he's not really
He's
believing.
mad.
Not Connor, sorry, John. Repeatedly has to kind of repeat the phrase where he's like, I went with my grandfather, I got stuck in space, but now I'm back. I'm back here.
Got trapped on an evil Earth with in a volcano prison. That's what kind of snaps. Damien, wait, a volcano prison?
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, there's a page where he hugs Damien, and Damien's like a foot off the ground. He's like picked up, and it really kind of sets this stuff up. So, they go off and they get some food. Damien jokes and says, "Hey, maybe you should go and get me some beer or something." And he's like, "You don't drink." He's like, "Yeah, but I feel like we should take advantage of this." But the funny thing about that is, I'm pretty sure Damien, being Damien, could get whatever he wants. If he really wanted booze, Damien Wayne could get booze.
Yeah. Well, also in the beginning, he's fighting Leviathan.
Yeah, he is.
Which he won't call because that's not you. That's a family name. You don't get to use that. So I'm gonna call you guys a bunch of goons. But they're wearing the same mask that Pete was talking about in the last one.
Yeah.
That and then they teleport out. That's where John shows up.
Those almost Roman-looking helmets they've got going. Yeah. Also, I like the idea that John, to avoid littering, just incinerates his garbage with his heat vision.
Yep. I like that too.
Interesting touch. But yes.
Yeah. So they bond.
Oh,
and they go and they...
Mike. Every time. So yeah, John explains to him that he's been invited to Legion of Superheroes, and what's funny is that it's kind of Damien who convinces him to go. That he would want to go.
College.
Yeah. So there is something to be said here that if you felt like it was going to ignore, the importance of the John and Damien relationship from the Rebirth era of the books, it does kind of feel like Bendis has given him the one important facet where it's Damien who kind of convinces him that he should go and go and have adventures with the Legion and do whatever. I will say I think the art style for like say the fortress looks quite good. That page where he's coming out of the fortress, that looks quite nice.
Yeah, it does. Just real quick too. So as they're going out on their adventures for the night, it looks like they take out the Riddler. They save a bunch of cats from a burning building. Looks like a plane was in trouble. They fight Kite Man, so he's there. And then at the bottom, I felt a little disrespected as a fan of Secret Six, where it's Catman, the Catman that we know from Secret Six. And as they're taking out his car, Catman is crying. And yeah, I just take umbrage with this because Catman's awesome. So anyway,
yeah,
Bendis, what are you doing, man?
So Saturn Girl shows up and is like, "Hey, John, have you decided yet?" And kind of shows him what the future's like using some of her powers.
Yep.
And then says, "Hey, with this ring, you can come back anytime you want." And he's like, "Okay, then let's go." So yeah, the end of the book is essentially going to the future. This is him leaving to go to the Legion. Although there's the nice little hint of a secret at the end, where Superman already has a Legion. I don't know if it's quite a ring. It's just like a disc, but maybe implying that he does actually have a history with the Legion of Superheroes in a different timeline, or because it's not this Legion. This Legion is not dealt with Superman in the way that.
Well, isn't that the one that they gave him? Because they gave it to Superman to call him back at any time.
Oh, did they?
That's what I got from it. Because it's like a disc, not so much a
you're
ring.
right. Yeah, so you give it to him. All right, never mind then. I thought John took that with him, and then the one Superman had was one that he already had.
Because he says you'll come home for special occasions, and he's like, I might be back in 10 minutes.
Because I thought that, and then it said next time the secret.
Yeah.
And okay, never mind.
That's just how I took it. Was that it was the one because she gives it to him in that box.
No,
it makes it
you're
kind
probably
of hard
right.
to see whose hand that is. I'm trying to see what. No, because John has different gloves.
Yeah.
So,
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. No, but the issue's a nice little send off for John. And Damien's friendship. like I said, the art is very cartoony in places. Like Superman, especially when he shows up at the fortress, has this really bulky kind of look to him.
Yeah, very Wolverine-esque when like Joe Madureira would draw him. You know, like he's got this width to him. You know, but no. Otherwise, it was just a pretty fun, beat, especially after everything that we've had in Superman. Not necessarily that it's been heavy, but just the stuff with all the United Planets and spacefaring and all of that stuff. It was a nice little downshift to John and Damien's relationship, and it's not that it was being ignored, but now it's finally been addressed, so we can get them on to other things here.
Yeah, it's a sort of issue that it'll be in probably the first Legion trade rather than whatever Superman trade's coming out, because it just kind of sets up into that nicely. So no. Maybe in both even. That's the thing. But yeah, that's Superman 16. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give this one a 8. Mostly because of the art.
That's why it's not higher, you mean?
Yeah, that's why it's not harder. Yeah.
I will go... Yeah, I'll go with 7.5. I think it's pretty good. I like the John and Damien beats, so yeah, it's pretty solid. So that'll take us on to Wonder Woman issue 80. G. Willow Wilson writing with Tom Derenick and Jesus Merino on the art, and the continuation of I miss when this book had like Zermanico and Carrie Nord on the art. Continues.
Yeah.
Because it's not the worst art in the world, but it's like so just serviceable.
Do you know what the problem is as well? So much of this issue is reaction shots. Just watching the characters. They're not a lot of action, and I feel this art just can't deliver that, which kind of really drags the issue down considerably for me.
Yeah, nah. There's some weird faces at times. There's body proportions are a bit. It's very 90s in some ways, and sometimes that can work for me, but it's just a little bit 90s in a kind of off way.
I thought the same thing. This feels like a 90s book.
Yeah.
I think that would be I'd be more okay with that if that had been the style of the book as a whole, but it hasn't been.
Yeah. So basically, Wonder Woman gets the serum.
Serum.
I wouldn't call it a serum because it's not for a person or a living object. It's
vial of gunk.
It is a solution in more ways than one for the sword, the God Killer sword that Cheetah's run around with. And like it does do a bit of setup here where Wonder Woman's just kind of like narrating over, like showing where all the characters are. Steve's in an airport, Kale's working on the serum, blah blah blah. And she's like, no, I need to suit up and go after Cheetah now that I've got the serum. When she actually goes out after Cheetah, I typically like what the issue's doing plot wise. It's Cheetah just walking down like an abandoned street with just some looters who she ends up like killing one of before Wonder Woman jumps in and like the fight ensues. The feeling of that and the feeling of like, okay, like hope seems to be kind of oddly lost, and it's just like chaos has happened, and well, not even chaos. This is the sad cam after the chaos where it just looks like a war zone has been here. Yeah, I kind of like that idea and generally what's happening there. But there's a lot of like the big full page spread, for example, where Cheetah disappears for a little bit, and then in the page where she comes back, and it's this big full page spread of Cheetah lunging out from up above towards Wonder Woman. Like that's one of those ones where like I'm thinking of how a better artist would like draw that and how like Cheetah might look like she's like sneaking out of the shadows. Or
I think Wonder Woman looks okay on that page, but Cheetah not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel exciting. It feels like a very just serviceable fight scene, unfortunately, because I really like typically what's happening in it, but it's just not visually that as interesting. Unfortunately, though, for Wonder Woman, this was all a trick by Kale. Kale has double-crossed her. The serum, instead of making the sword unusable for Cheetah, starts to like supercharge, and it's a really great thing here. As she's explaining that she lied and that Kale's betrayed her. You actually see Kale just like with a glass of wine on the balcony, just looking like, oh god, what have I done? Like, whatever's inspired her to do this, probably Lex Luthor, given all the talk about you're the villain and doomed and whatever.
I really hope it's not anything to do with Lex. Kale going, sure, I'll play along with Lex's idea. Really undermines Kale a lot, I think.
It does.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I also thought curse you in your sudden but inevitable betrayal. Because if we thought,
Yeah.
Yes.
Which when is Wilson's last issue?
End of this arc, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
getting
either the next one or the one
messy.
after, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's because she's kind of ending her run, kind of.
Yeah, that's what
quickly.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, how many issues do we have for her to try to stick this landing?
Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
I feel like we're rushing an ending here, where it probably wouldn't be ending otherwise. Cheetah, the last page is just full spread of Cheetah, like just covered. It's almost like she's in the Speed Force, so just lightning around her. And she's got this sword.
Which I liked back in the in the mid 2000s days, they would try to partner Cheetah up with like Zoom and things because of the whole speed aspect, and she wasn't quite a Speed Force user. But I always liked that idea, and here I got vibes of that with the lightning.
I just checked. We've only got one issue left.
So yeah,
okay. And then we'll all try one issue of Orlando, and then probably not read any more of it.
Well, let's see how busy the week is when it comes out first.
All right, okay.
Well, if it's coming out alongside a bunch of the new books that I'm more interested in trying, and I know where my time is being spent.
Exactly. It's like a Hill House book or Wonder Woman by Orlando.
What's so funny is Orlando has such a good reputation elsewhere on the internet. For some reason, we are the weird three of us that all kind of agree that we don't like him.
We mostly like Supergirl. True. Right? It was good. It's just so far the stuff of his that we read, we just aren't a fan of. And, taste is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
We liked Night of the Monster Man.
Yeah,
true.
Monster Man.
True.
So
that was a while ago now.
That was so early, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was like issue 7 and 8 of Batman. Like that was a long ass time ago. So I don't even know. Yeah, so the art's kind of basic and rough. The plot is fairly simple. I actually don't mind the plot.
It's fine. It's nothing special. It really does feel like we just need to wrap this up.
Yep. That's why I was asking how many issues is left, because it definitely feels like all the momentum has screeched to a halt.
Yeah, and it's just
like,
been
Aphrodite got killed, and that was it.
It's just been this arc. It's just been since that death. Everything up until then was really solid. So, I think it is just kind of this rush ending before the new writer comes on board.
Yep.
Yeah.
So hey, okay. I mean, I think that'll do. We give it a.
I'm gonna give this a 6.5.
Connor.
Just a regular 6 from me.
Yeah, I'll also give it a 6. So there you go. That's Wonder Woman. But that'll take us on to the Flash issue 80. Joshua Williamson writing with Scott Kolins on the art. And this issue, obviously, Zoom's back in play, and he's got Steadfast captured. And Barry and Iris are working together again, trying to figure out where they can find Zoom. And, again, this kind of brings up previous timeline stuff, where we kind of get Zoom's, Jeff Johns' origin kind of hinted at.
And this is where I'm trying to figure out how was Barry gone, right? Because Zoom only works if Barry's not there.
Well, no, he did in the original timeline, which is what Zoom's from.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. But the way that Barry's recounting everything,
it's
right?
like it was like it was firsthand for him.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's what I'm trying how does Barry know Hunter's element? Because that was Wally that knew him, and so. Yeah, was Barry gone for a little bit? Because I always like the idea of Barry, quote, retiring and going to the future, and that's where you get Impulse and whatnot in that timeline. So, but yeah, this confusion here, but I think that was the point. I'm not going to knock Williamson for that, because I feel like it's supposed to give you the sense, what the hell, Zoom? How does this work?
Yeah, you got the younger Flashies going after the Rogues at Ironhide, so they're kind of spying on them.
Can't use their powers though. You don't want the Black Flash to show up, so they got to shimmy down a rope, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. And then, actually, did we ever find out the fingerprints that
no.
Barry and Iris?
Saving that.
Yeah, they teased that. So yeah, it's basically this gun that was used. to for Clown, because they tell a story about how Zoom made a mistake, and this clown serial killer, ended up killing people, because he said that this clown's MO was not to use a gun, but he was wrong. But Barry says that, hey, given the evidence, I'd have agreed with that, but of course some people died. So they find this gun and they pull some fingerprints off of it, and they run it, and even though they never found anything before, they run it against
the Justice League's database, which is obviously way better.
Yeah, the Justice League's database has, obviously more stuff, probably from multiple timelines and multiple Earths and
maybe some futures and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we get this reaction thing, just kind of like Superman and Event Leviathan, where both Barry and Iris sort of look at it all eyes wide, like, we have to go find Zoom right now. Oh dear, like something bad.
It's Thawne, right? Like, it's definitely Thawne. Because this is the parallel that I got from this. So
sure,
that would be quite funny, actually.
Right?
In a good way.
For those that don't know, Zoom's origin is his dad killed his mom, which led him to becoming a criminal profiler, and then all the stuff that Pete just talked about. That his mentor, he ends up falling in love with his mentor's daughter, and then for the FBI, and then they go into the house where he was like, "Oh no, it doesn't fit the profile." His father-in-law gets shot and killed, which, leads to problems for him down the line. He ends up becoming Zoom after an accident where he tries to rewrite time by using Cosmic Treadmill, and it backfires. And he was never a Speed Force user. He was outside of time, and it gave it the appearance of speed. So you start looking up at the parallels of Barry's, right, of John's, when he retconned Barry's origin to add the death of the mother, which we all know was Thawne at this point now, via Flash Rebirth. So it makes me wonder if Thawne also orchestrated Zoom's as almost trying to create a dark Barry, so that would necessitate Zoom in the future. If that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a nice dark irony to it.
I can see it. Obviously, Barry shows up in the nick of time before Zoom kills Steadfast, and we get a whole fight playing out with them. Steadfast tries to stop the fight by using his powers, but Zoom has been kind of, practicing
waiting for it.
Yeah, because him using his powers means that he can go in, because what he's been trying to do is take his powers. He wants, because he's already taken the strength force from whoever. He's now coming in and he basically grabs them, takes his still force power, and now he's hoping to get all of them so he can create, what was it, the Forever Force. Yes. And this is where we get all these like panels of like the previous timeline of him in the treadmill and so on and so on.
I forgot
like that bit in theory, but the Forever Force.
I read all the stuff. I reread this stuff last summer, so it's fresh. I forgot the reason he was in the wheelchairs because Grodd got out and just trashed him.
I remember that because it was basically the Nightfall thing with breaking the back, but it was Grodd and Hunter Zolomon.
I spaced on that, and I got a dark humor out of this. Like, oh shit, I forgot.
Because he blamed Flash, right? He blamed Flash for not being there to save him.
And he said that if Barry was a better hero, none of this would have happened. Or Wally was a better hero, none of this would have happened. So that was his thing. He even talks about this, like, I'm the strongest because I've, survival of the fittest, and no one has survived more than me. Also, so he took the Strength Force off panel then, right? So the whole point of Barry hiding them in the Strength Force with Commander Cold, that was just to save them from the Black Flash, not from Zoom.
I mean, that's assuming he got it from her. I don't know if he did. Like, he might have got it from...
No, to be fair, I'm with Matt, because the assumption up till now is there's only ever been one avatar of each force at a time, right? Because
Trickster initiated all of them, remember? Because that was with Axel.
Yeah.
Right? That was just to get Barry off his game so he could lay the groundwork for what he needed to do. But then it went to Fuerza, and then that's why they put her in the Strength Force with Commander Cold, so they could figure out what was going on. So did he just tap into it without her being here? Because she's trapped in it, or not trapped in it, hiding in it? Or what? That's the one thing that could have used some clarification.
I don't know. I have no answer for that. I will say, I kind of like this issue more than I have the recent ones, mainly because it focused more on Zoom. And all of Zoom's stuff I actually kind of liked. I like Zoom tried to, and as much as you complain about the name the Forever Force, the idea of him stealing all the forces so he can be the best Flash in the multiverse feels very Zoom-like.
It does.
It is.
So I kind of like that. I also like the tying into the mystery of how he's the clown killer and all that stuff. I like tying back into all that. This felt like it was Williamson veering back into let's explore Flash history and use some of it in really fun ways. And while we're still technically working from these other forces because we're still dealing with some of those characters, this issue felt a bit more removed from it because it was more about Zoom and more about his motivations and the mystery behind him. And because of that, I enjoyed this more than I think I have the last 10 issues, something like that.
Yeah, and don't forget too that at the end of the Flash War, we had that tease of the person, the Anti-Monitor armor, in the future being released from the prison, right? And that's who's working with Zoom. So we still have that. And also here, when he said, "Come to me, death, I'm ready," I really thought this is just an elaborate suicide for Hunter Zolomon. So I thought that was weird. Or he's trying to take the spot of the Black Flash, or whatever it is. But of course, Barry can't let him have that. And it looks like Barry has succumbed to the Black Flash.
But Barry gets shish kebabbed. He jumps in to save Hunter. And the last page, this full page spread of him just with all the spiky fingers going all through of him.
His fingers seem to have grown even more. In that last page.
Yes. So it says next the Flash dies, and I'm sure technically that'll be right, but obviously shenanigans because comic books, because that's what happens. No, I like this issue quite a bit actually, and I think it's because it's focusing on more stuff that I care about from Flash, and it feels like digging into Zolomon felt like it was like a bit of fire from what actually feels like a Flash comic, because basically the introduction of these other Force characters has kind of dragged the book down a little bit, especially recently. And then, of course, that year one didn't help at all. Which, funny enough, that year one almost threw a road bump, and even dealing with those characters, that was like a road bump to all the different Force users, which in and of itself we were kind of feeling like it was dragging the book down. And I feel like here
it just compounded quite a bit, didn't it?
Yeah. Whereas here it feels like we're actually finally starting to kind of veer into some proper Flash stuff that I really like. So. Good. And Scott Kolins, if you like his Flash art, which I think I do at least, typically. It's a very pulpy.
I've been on the record on this show as not being a huge Kolins fan. I still like it more than Sandoval though. But because I didn't know we had someone else on this issue after the last bunch have been Sandoval. So I opened it up and that first panel was like, well, this isn't Sandoval.
I will say I'm not a big fan of his iris. His iris looks weird.
There was one panel of her shock face, which I did think looked a bit weird. Yeah, I'll give you that.
That said, if you're gonna do Zoom, you have to have Kolins.
Yeah,
that's just in my brain.
Zoom's like the dark patches around his eyes, all that stuff. He looks great. This looks like Zoom. Yep. This feels like Zoom. Even though he's in a red suit, it looks like Zoom.
I know you could just it could be uncolored, with the eyes. And just the sneer that's always on his face that Kolins gives him, it's Zoom. I like Kolins a lot. Just his iris is way off.
As much as I mostly prefer Kolins over Sandoval, on the Flash specifically, I think when we get to the Rogues, the designs, they look somehow worse. Like even Cold's design, which I've mostly been a fan of, I didn't really like. Kolins here.
They need their original designs back if Kolins is going to do it, because it feels wrong.
Just didn't look that good.
No.
Yeah. What do you give it, Matt?
I'm going to give this one a 7.5.
Connor?
Just a 7.
I'll agree with the 7.5. Agree with 7.5.
It's notable that they're not huge scores, but I think consistently between all of us, that's higher than we've been in a while.
Yeah.
So, step in the right direction, keep it going, Williamson, and get to your 100-issue run with a nice, 20 issues at the end.
I'm just hoping he gets to, and I know Bendis is using Bart, but he brought Bart back because he's very, Williamson loves Bart.
Yeah.
And I want to see some stuff with Bart and him. So, yeah.
Yeah. So next up, we'll go into Supergirl 35, Marc Andreyko writing with Eduardo Pansica on the art. And this is, Supergirl, Jeremiah just showed up. They seem to think that Eliza's body is in the morgue here. But of course, it's not very long in this issue before it seems that what we're twisting here is that the Leviathan agent that attacks them is actually her. She's either under control or she is, she's just chose a different side. She's converted, for whatever reason. Obviously, there's teases of this weird Brainiac monster. This.
Yeah.
And
so I like the idea here that Brainiac, the very first Brainiac, is an android, and that through time it's become more of a hybrid. And now this first version feels like the further versions are inefficient because they're not machines.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that whole idea here at play. I did feel this issue was a little, I don't want to say messy, because messy is not the right word, but it was between trying to work the villain stuff and the Leviathan stuff, they didn't seem to work. Like, they seem to clash here.
I think I liked all the individual stuff. I definitely liked the Leviathan stuff more.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Even though the visual of the Brainiac stuff was kind of cool. I think Pansica's art's very good. It's been good every other time he's been on Supergirl recently. And they leave the morgue. He's so much to tell you about Leviathan and what's going on. And that's when Leviathan's there and he's with the agent that we think is Eliza by the end of it. And because Jeremiah's like, oh, I know these moves, like the way that she moves, the way
she fights.
This is my wife, damn it, kind of thing. But you get some heat from her because she whips Crypto with some kryptonite whips or whatever it is.
There's two things, and well, not in this. There's one in this issue and one in another issue that involve dogs that really, really messed me up, and this was one of them. So seeing the Crypto whine onomatopoeia, I was like, oh, you gotta take her out now. I don't care if that's your mom, Kara.
Take her. Supergirl gets attacked by all these kryptonite drones, and then Supergirl initiates, which I thought was a really cool transition into her kryptonite armor. She's got this red and black suit that she turns on. That we knew she had when they did all the redesigns back in issue 21 or whatever it was. And yeah, we get this this cool red and black suit with a mask, where she's like, okay, now kryptonite is dealt with. Like now it's no issue anymore, which is really cool.
A lead line suit, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it because it's like, okay, it's not a complete get out of jail free card. If someone breaks it or something or gets a hole in it, then sure. But like, I do like the idea that it's like, yeah, every time you whip out kryptonite, it's just not an instant win for you. Like I now have defenses.
Yeah. Well, I do like too that it seems to be on a charge, so she can't use it all the time. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they teleport. The bad guys teleport away because it's like, oh shit, Supergirl actually can fight back. We have to run.
Well, yeah, and Leviathan stops to talk to her. Propositions her, being like, hey, I know what you're about. I know what your cousin's about. So I think you're going to want to be on our side.
Yeah, I think the Leviathan stuff is the more engaging stuff because it's more tied into the characters in Supergirl. It makes sense given who her foster parents are, but also because it's been typically tying into what Bendis has been doing since the very start of its whole run. So I think that stuff actually plays very well with Supergirl because it feels right. Oh god, that's a really beautiful 2-page layout actually when she's flying with Crypto to the fortress. But yeah, you've got the big the Doom symbol in the sky that's lit up, and this leads to them coming back and finding this monster Brainiac that's infected Kal-X at the fortress. Which honestly, Supergirl versus a monster like this in the next issue is like a sort of monster movie kind of thing. Yeah, I could see fun in that.
Yeah. So here, I feel like there's more at play here. There's where it starts to get a little messy because we know. Judging by the next in here, so I don't feel like it's a spoiler now, she's going to be one of the Secret Six.
Yes.
And so this is a Batman Who Laughs plot on top of a Leviathan plot within a year of the villain. And I'm just like, guys, let's pick one and let's stick there for now. So
I mean, I wonder though if she just deals with the year of the villain thing, beats that, and then the issue just kind of then turns into. Well,
I feel like definitely
Secret Six.
Whatever dark version she becomes in this, Secret Six is what allows her to defeat the Brainiac plot. Which then
maybe
leaves the Leviathan stuff. We'll see. I mean, but yeah, it was just kind of. They all seem to be clashing here, and I'll give Andreyko credit. He made it work. You know,
Yeah.
I never felt really like
I also
not that there was an eye roll, but I definitely felt the editorial in this one.
I mean, I suppose it's almost like a funny kind of meta thing where like we always have like multiple events or things like that going on at the same time. This is actually what happens when they acknowledge all of them in the same book at the same time, where Supergirl is like, oh, there's all these things going on. What I do like about it though, I think, is that once we do get her infected, because the first issue of Hauser is going to be like an infected tie-in kind of issue, I do think that it'll probably be more focused on just that once that happens. It won't be like bouncing around to different things.
Well, and I feel too like with her having this crux issue of all of them lining up, it shows how important Supergirl is to the DCU right now.
Yeah.
You know, like she's a primary player if she's going to be one of the infected and involved in Leviathan and the Year of the Villain. So, yeah. And it almost makes me wonder too if this is what they were trying with Superman. Remember, we had the Year of the Villain stuff, but it didn't seem to add up.
No,
so
honestly,
they took off the banner.
The only one that feels kind of shoehorned in, to be honest, is the Year of the Villain one, because I think Leviathan makes sense given her first appearance art and given everything else that's going on, and the infected stuff. Well, it didn't need to be her, but we know she's becoming part of that, so it makes sense to sort of build into it. I think Year of the Villain, it's like it almost feels like this Year of the Villain thing could have easily just been Superman who finds this, and Superman would have to deal with it. But then, like you say, if they sort of tie it in where her dark version of herself is kind of how she beats the thing, then maybe it does actually kind of nicely all sink in together in a weird way.
Right. Well, it's almost like the Batman Who Laughs is superseding Luthor. So in the grand scheme of that, where we know where it's going with that series that's coming, or that mini from Tynan about the Batman Who Laughs coming up against Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's all filling in, and that's where the continuity fandom is like, this is where I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too. Right? Where I'm like, yes, I love continuity, but Supergirl, you got way too much going on right now. Let's ease back. You know? But yeah, maybe the taco and burrito's too much.
Yeah, just but if all this ties into the idea that the Batman Who Laughs is actually trying to take things from Luthor and like mess with his day, it almost actually kind of beautifully syncs up that this is like those two things are those two things are opposing each other in Supergirl for Supergirl's attention. Like it almost kind of works in a weird way.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's a little too much, but I'm okay with it being a little too much in the grand scheme of things. But for just this issue by itself, I was like, man. Ooh, there's a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was very good in this issue, actually.
I still enjoyed it. These are nitpicks at the end of the day because ultimately it's a really good issue.
Yeah, I think the art in this was great. You know, I was looking through it again, talking about it there, and I think some of those pages of Supergirl flying, the fighting, it looks really good. The fight,
especially, you don't get lost in the fight. Like it's very well choreographed. That says for print.
This is the first book since Leviathan in the order we've talked about them where I have not had a problem with the art. Like everything else has been kind of like here's good and bad or you know whatever. But this is
I'll give you that one.
This is just straight good through. Obviously, Maleev is probably beating it, but still,
next level. Yeah, that's not fair.
What are you giving Supergirl, Matt?
I'm gonna give this one 8. 8.5. I'll lift it up.
Yeah, I'll give it a straight 8. But it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
So that'll take us on to Batman and the Outsiders, issue 6. Bryan Hill writing with Dexter Soy on the art. In fact, speaking of good art, Dexter Soy killing it yet again. This issue focuses on Cass and Duke. As they fight Ishmael and they're kind of lured down, and we actually get Shiva who's like involved in all of this, and we have the Karma character who's been used to like fuel like
from Bryan Hill, from his tech run, right, you want you guys hear something?
Okay, go on.
Duke didn't annoy me in this issue.
Whoa!
I thought Duke was very well used in this, so.
Is this real? Is this happening? Yeah,
I'll be honest. I thought he was fine in this issue too. He
see,
you know, like having Cass kind of like back and forth. I mean, Cass felt like a little underpowered compared to your usual with her fighting, but
but I feel that's a psychological thing of having to go up against her mom.
Yeah,
like
I've seen that before.
I did like them stealing some of Ishmael's jetpacks, and then there was like a page of them like flying off with jetpacks. That was kind of
a great page.
That was fun.
Cora read this, did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that for some reason. I thought you dropped
that.
Yeah,
he said. No,
I said last time there was maybe.
Okay. All right.
I think.
Well, But I thought in the pre-show, he said this is one thing he did read.
Okay, I didn't remember that. The pre-show. You say that as if we have a pre-show that airs somewhere, man.
Well, sorry, wrestling, whatever.
On the pre-show. Yeah. The book starts, because we find out that Black Lightning and the others have retrieved. What's her name? I always every name in this book who I'm not used to. I always have to remind myself when I read it. We have her, Bruce. Please bring her. They just keep using pronouns. God damn it! Someone say her name.
I hate it when books do that. We've spoken about this before. I think that even if it's characters that most people are familiar with, you should still make a point of saying their name. Ideally on the first page that they're in the book, but if not, at some point, if it's a newer character, you absolutely should be doing it on the first page that they're in, if not the first panel.
Or in this case, talked about, because there's not really here.
Sure, yeah. But
I'm gonna find it.
You can find it, Matt, if you want. So they fight Ishmael. Ishmael runs off.
Sophia.
There you go, Sophia. They still.
Don't ask me her League of Assassins name because I don't remember that.
Oh yeah. Although Alfred gets a package back at Wayne Manor. To Alfred Pennyworth. Is that and Bruce Wayne or?
Hold on. Let me look
percentage, Bruce. This is a percentage sign.
No, that's care of. So
CO.
Sending it.
I can see it. Okay, I can see it now.
I'm with you, Pierre. It looked like a percent.
Yeah, it looked like a percentage to me. But yeah, so it's a fragile box, and he pulls it out, and it's a chess set with with like Batman is like the king of one side, and
this is baller. Roz,
I want it.
Yeah, because you zoom in and you got a Katana, you got a Black Lightning, you got a Bruce, you got a Duke, and you got a Cass, and then the rest are regular pieces. And then you go on the other side though, and it seems like all the pawns are different people.
It does.
On the opposite side. And you got Ishmael. Looks like Sophia's character is one of the pawns, I think.
Yeah, Raz is there as the king.
Naturally.
Ishmael's a knight. And then you've got all these other characters.
Yeah, Ishmael's a bishop.
Oh, he's a bishop, sorry.
Yeah, bishop's next to the queen, the king.
Pete doesn't know chess well enough.
Queen takes color. So yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact way you lay out chess pieces. No, off the top of my head.
To be fair, the knight is right next to him, so that's on you.
Yeah.
To be fair, that doesn't really. You can't really tell that's a knight by the way it's sitting. It looks like a singular kind of cylinder piece.
Yeah.
Okay. No. But look. So you've got the rooks of the castles on the end, and then you've got the knights. And while I will give you that the one on the left next to him, you can't necessarily tell. On the opposite side, it's very clear that it's a knight.
Yes,
and the opposite side, you can tell that. But I didn't look at the opposite side. I just glanced at it.
Well.
Okay.
Better, shouldn't you?
I just glanced at
it.
it.
I definitely don't think Dexter Soy thought we were going to look at it this closely.
No, probably not. It's worth mentioning, when I'm looking at it like this, I'm zoomed like right into the bloody thing, which is way more than you're supposed to be into this.
So he's got Black Lightning listed as the queen, which is, if you know chess, the most versatile piece on the board. So that
makes sense. I think part of that is you have to have Batman as the king to be because he's the one calling the shots here.
Right.
So and then after that, I think you have to have Black Lightning there by his side because it's
fine.
He's the co-lead of the book, I would say.
And then you got Katana listed as a bishop, which that's fine. Duke as a bishop, maybe I would put him as a rook, right? Because he only goes in one direction. What are you going to? Although he's a bishop, so he really can only go in one direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cass as a knight definitely makes sense.
It does.
But I'm curious to see who these pawns are going to play out because this is almost a tease here.
But honestly, my only complaint about this issue is it says at the start this is the final part of the arc, and it doesn't feel like the final part of an arc at all.
Not at all.
It's like
did you say that? I missed that. I think
it says it's the final issue of whatever this arc's been called.
Lesser Gods.
Yeah,
you're right. I tend to skim over credit pages like that box unless I'm looking for names.
So that's not really a big deal. It just means that they have to. What it probably means is it's like a 10-12 issue arc that they have to split for the trade. So this is why it's named this way. But they get to Shiva and we get the fight playing out, and Shiva's toying with us. Oh, you've grown weak. You've let them, make you lesser. Blah blah. Well, Ishmael holds up Duke, and that's a really great page actually. It makes Duke sort of blast his lightning as he's like strangling him from behind.
Yeah.
Really, really good stuff. So yeah, they leave them kind of just wrecked, and sort of go off. So
interesting that Cass gets one of the chess pieces as well.
Yeah, she gets the one of Shiva.
So I guess they have their own copy of it as well over here.
Yeah. I would imagine so. And she just looks
I'm sure Ra's got a deal in the manufacturing. Like, he had to get at least 10 sets.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I was going to say, the final page is just Cass screaming in anger at her mother after she's been beat. So that is the issue.
Real quick, I just had to look up Duke because of his light power. I forgot he had light power, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking it up, and I pull this up on one of the fandom wikis. And it says his unique physiology. Duke is a metahuman and only beginning to understand his powers. Duke's physiology appears to be unique in comparison to other metahumans, amplifying their abilities in his presence. Noman claims Duke has infinite blood. I forgot about that, but that was definitely a thing in Metal, right? And also implying Duke may be potentially immortal. Infinite blood is the most 90s thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, that's
right.
Pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I forgot about that. I wanted to remind everybody else here that he's got infinite blood, which I'm never gonna not remember now.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed the issue. I think it was right to focus on just a couple of characters. It kind of went away from the rest of the team and just focused on Duke and Cass. And obviously the tease of the chess pieces. And it seems like the whole thing is going to be trying to lure in members of the opposite team, and take them in, or at least take them out of the picture by making them doubt themselves enough.
Because you could say it's going to be a game of chess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that didn't need to be said, but sure.
Well, clearly me and Matt both thought it did.
Chess analogies rule. All right, now it makes me want to play chess, but no one will play with me. So
I haven't played chess in years.
Yeah, me too. My dad brought me back a Cursed Aztec set, so that's fun.
Cool. I used to have a nice glass set. It's quite nice.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna rate this.
Sure.
Matt.
I'm gonna give this an 8. I really like this issue.
Connor?
I have a very consistent trend this week of being half a point below Matt. So 7.5.
I'll go with 8. I was tempted to go with the 7.5 kind of range, but I think the art kind of picks it up. Plus it was a really nice, easy read. It just kind of flew in, told its story. Yeah, I'm into it. Well, that'll take us on then to Wonder Twins issue 8, Mark Russell writing with Mike Norton on the art. So, yeah, you two read this. On you go.
Yeah. So, Connor, you caught up, right?
I did. I read both issues back to back.
How'd you feel about that last issue? Did you feel the same way I did?
I think I liked it a little bit more than you did.
Okay.
But I agree in premise of what you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I feel completely different about this one because this is back. Russell's back with his A game in this one.
Yeah. This is pretty great.
So, yeah. Polymath's in the juvie, right? And
Which
she can
is,
get all visitors.
What's it called? It had a stupid name. Prison Kids with a Z.
Yep.
A subsidiary of Lexicon.
Yep. But so she's approved visitors, anyone except Jaina. Which of course
Jaina comes to visit and she's like, you're not on the list of approved visitors. See, and it just says approved visitors, anyone except Jaina, and it's
so
pretty good.
But I would say the real spine of this issue is the reunion for the principal and the librarian who went to the high school 30 years ago, and they're doing a reunion and. Basically, he has feelings for the librarian.
Yeah, they had a thing.
Go.
And he made a choice, and that was it.
And so, and he's real sad about it. And the first chuckle I got on this is that his dating app is called Sad Dads. Dating but sad. So he gets to the high school reunion.
It's worse when it goes, 0 people like you. It's like, that's so sad.
Yep. And so, so Jaina's doing the announcements, and, we start hinting that he's going to want her help in putting this together.
Yeah. I loved some of these announcements as well. All D&D games are restricted to the library, no matter how epic they may get.
Yes, that was a good one.
The baseball diamond is strictly off limits to wizard battles.
Yeah. Also, today is Librarian Appreciation Day. Let your librarian know how much they mean to you. Libraries are, after all, our collective memory. That's I feel that's a Mark Russell.
It is, yeah. He's there. That's him going, hey, libraries are cool, yo. Yep.
So, but yeah, so Principal's super depressed, kind of taking it out on Jaina, and that he's like, nothing's permanent. You just need to talk to her, get it over with. He goes, no, that's where you're wrong. Everything we do, every mistake goes on our permanent record. I would know. I am a principal. Like
everything in this book has me laughing this week. Like the start of this scene when Jaina, comes to the office, she's like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Do you know what it is? What an adult is, Jaina?" And she's like, "I'm just gonna leave." And he's like, "A walking accumulation of regret." She's just like, "Too late."
So then we get the stuff in the prison where Polymath essentially orchestrates a breakout because she has watched the guards have the ice cream truck come in to the jail or the prison.
Yeah, he always comes out to get it. They're very excited. They're like little kids who are there for the ice cream van. And
they come out, and she knows that one of them doesn't, take ice cream, but they're not really watching because he's watching everybody else eat the ice cream because he's on the diet. So they're able to sneak out, and they're going to show up and wreak havoc on the Wonder Twins for putting her in there with these other, young supervillains, you could say, that had gotten out. But it is basically, the whole issue is basically about being able to apologize, and that just because you accept an apology doesn't mean things are so good. It's just that you're, I guess, mature enough to have it work. But she learns all that from Zan, who is a big fan of Gun Cop. We keep seeing Gun Cop now after that issue with the double date and whatnot. He's wearing a Gun Cop shirt. There's a poster in the back, but
he's been tasked with running the casino for the school reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And oh boy, does he lean into it.
Oh, he does. He becomes a full-on pit boss, and he's got an eye in the sky. Mm-hmm. And there's a gambler that, funnily enough, looks like Jason Momoa. Like, at least to me.
I thought that too.
Right? And he's at the reunion. He's just cleaning up. So Zan has him, because he's trying to get enough money to get this
dog, like ceramic dog.
Yeah. So back in the 80s, there was a beer mascot. I think it was for Bud Light, called Suds McKenzie or Bud McKenzie. I can't remember the full name. And that's basically what this is a parody of. What's his name?
It was
Suds.
Yeah, he did say at one point, Studs McDoggy.
There you go. And so basically Zan, Alice is drinking grape juice too. Not wine, it's grape juice. Yeah. He brings them back, and for him cheating has Studs destroyed.
He's like, because he's just there, sat in his chair with the glass, looking all evil, and he's like, right, boys, break his legs.
Yeah, because the guy was cheating at blackjack.
Yeah, and you're like, what the hell? And then they just smash the dog, and you're like, oh, okay.
He was the ultimate party animal. Yeah. Like, and so, but Zan doesn't like who he's become now, so he removes the mustache.
Yeah, stare into the abyss long enough, kid, and it stares back at you.
So Polly's got with her group because they leave after this. They end up leaving the kid prison after this lady comes in and basically wants to try out makeup on them and whatnot. She's like, you know what? Yeah, I did wrong in here, but I was also trying to upset the system. You can't break an omelet. You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. So she's kind of like, I'm not about this moral relativism or moral binary. It's more relative.
Yeah.
So that's why they escape, and they have Jaina surrounded, and you know she needs Zan to make the power. And he comes in and slides
Holy
under Polly's
Jumanji.
legs. Yeah. Slides under, makes the save. Wonder Twin powers activate.
She just
and
becomes a snake and wraps him up.
right. But the gambler, whoever he is, he gets kicked out, but he looks like he's going to swear vengeance now.
He does. He's got that
them.
hunch.
Yep. And the principal and librarian end up, having a talk, and he wants to start over, which I feel like the undercurrent has to do with, and I might be completely missing this, was because they are different races. Like, I feel like that was the decision he made, and now he's walking back on it. You know what I mean?
You could be onto it. It's very, very, very vague as to what the decision he made was. He never really says much about it. He just says he made a choice and it was the wrong one.
Right, and so that's where I got it from. And he thinks it's too late to start again. This is where I talk about the apologies, where she goes, "It's too late, but it was nice to hear it anyways. Thanks." So it opened up their friendship. That even if despite working together for decades, that now they can be back on a normal human relationship. But so Jaina she has Polly wrapped up, is she wanted to say sorry more than anything, but that she thinks her dad Philo is alive and that she's going to help get him back.
Yeah. And we know he is. He's in the Phantom Zone.
He's in the Phantom Zone.
I'm not sure how she knows that yet. I don't recall that. It
probably has to do with the Hall of Justice, because we know that they intern there.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was definitely a rebound issue. It's good to have back.
Yeah, I think should mention the art, because this was not Byrne.
It's not Byrne. No.
It's a really good job of emulating Byrne's style.
Yeah.
It looks very similar. I don't think it's quite as clean as Byrne's are. The lines aren't quite as defined. But it does a great job of matching the style of the book and working for that. So I've got nothing to complain about in the art department.
Nope, it's pretty solid. And the story, it's back on par, which I'm hoping this means good things for you guys. I know you guys were enjoying Dial H, so hopefully this rebounds.
I'm hopeful for that. I'm hoping it was just a one-off issue to fill some time, and then back on, especially on that book where the artist has been so essential. So it was like, okay, he needs an issue off.
Because we know he was working on 8, right? Is that what he said? And so maybe the plans were there. Something came up, so now he got pushed to 9.
Maybe, yeah.
Or wait, this was 8, yeah. So maybe, I don't know, but we'll see where that goes.
I'm sure he'll be back.
Yep. So what are you rating it, Connor?
I'll give it an 8.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I'll go with an 8 on this one. Wasn't quite up with some of the other stuff I've given the 8.5 to, but it's still really, really good.
Yeah.
All right. Which will take you guys on then again to Hawkman number 17, Robert Venditti writing, and Patrick Olliffe on the art.
Yeah. Oof. So we enjoy this book, Connor, right?
We do.
Oh, I sense a negative turn coming here.
Yeah. At least for me, this issue's fine story-wise, but a lot like we were filming earlier with Wonder Woman, I feel like something has happened that this story had to get wrapped up quicker than was the original plan, they could do the Sky Tyrant stuff. I do. I mean, we had been hinting there was a little bit of darkness to Carter, right, throughout.
Yes.
Here, though, the stuff with Shadow Thief, or as he's kind of dubbed here, Shadow Master, I feel like with as much setup as we had for him, the way that he's dealt with here is just a little bit.
I'm gonna disagree.
Okay.
I will defend it. So we'll talk about just quickly what happens before we get there. Basically, Hawkman, he's caught up to him, and he's there, and Shadow Thief / Master turns his own shadow against him. So Hawkman's been attacked by his own shadow, and he smacks it with the mace, and he feels it because in the Shadow Realm, you feel whatever happens to your shadow.
Which I don't like that, because how is he supposed to beat Shadow Master now? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it too much, but I mean, I think it makes for an interesting dynamic where Hawkman's there wailing on something, and that's the Hawkman. The only thing he kind of knows how to do right now is wail on shit.
Right. I just felt like it was like you're stacking the odds too much against him.
Maybe
that's all.
Maybe, so, but yeah. So like, he's there trying. He's just not figuring it out quick enough, because Shadow Thief's like, come on, dude. You're just making this easy for you. Just try not to kill yourself, because I want to keep your shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But so eventually Hawkman realizes, well, okay, I can't take out the shadow. I have to take out Shadow Thief. So he kind of summons the mace, but he makes it turn into the extra spiked form first.
Yeah. And
then summons it towards him, so the spike just drives straight through Shadow Thief's back, and it punctures all the way through.
Right. And you're like, damn, Carter.
That was brutal and
vicious.
He's there, and
even the Shade's like, hey, buddy, like, you can't be doing that in here.
Yeah, he's there, and he's standing over him with his extra bloody spiky mace, ready to utterly just destroy him. He's like, no, this execution time. I'm not standing for this. And Shade has to come in and stop him. And I think this is the reason why I don't feel like it was rushed to get to the end of this. Is no. This is Hawkman. He's kind of at a base level, just violence right now, and just hitting him and killing him is the only thing that's kind of in his mind right now, and that is inherently a quicker solution, even though it's the wrong solution for the hero, which is why this works for me, because Shade has to step in and be like, no. This quick and easy method that you've got going, that's not the way that you're supposed to do things.
No, and I get that, but I just feel like with as dire as it felt with the Shadow Thief stealing his shadow, turning against them, and when they get your shadow, they know all your secrets. It just seemed, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I guess there could have been more done with that.
Anticlimactic. That's
okay.
the word I'm looking for.
All right. I won't argue
anticlimactic.
with that.
But I did like with the Shade, with that dynamic there. I was like, hey, Carter, buddy, what's going on? And he kind of uses the shadows on him.
It's like, this isn't you. This isn't the man who gave me this cane and turned me away from the life of villainy. And
then he goes, they come out of the Shadow Realm, and Carter is like, no, there's a darkness in me, and I'm gonna embrace it.
Yeah, he's so angry. He's just smacking on the wall, and then you get a great couple of panels of the shadow growing and twisting. And I love the lettering here, where it changes the font and as the voice goes, and the bubble as well as just the font. But it's a great touch, I think.
It's more savage, like as it goes, which I think would have been a better name.
If you'd called this Savage Hawkman.
Yeah, or just the Savage, whatnot. But
that would have worked nicely, because obviously we've had Savage Hawkman as a thing in the past.
Exactly. I don't like the Sky Tyrant name, and I feel that's on Tynan, right? Like, because he's doing that series with the Infected.
It'll be Tynan, maybe Williamson. It's hard to say who exactly has come up with all of these ideas, because they feel so interconnected right now, to be fair.
But he's definitely Barbarian Hawkman. Like, there's a Barbarian vibe to him. Down to, like, dreadlocks with caps at the end, and I don't know. It was just it's gotten away from what I really enjoy that he's doing with.
Yeah, I agree. This feels like it's going into a detour and to tie into the current stuff. I quite like the design of Sky Tyrant.
Design's cool. I'm not going to be disappointed with that.
I'm interested to see what they do as we do this Secret Six stuff. I am looking forward to after that, when we can get back to doing Hawkman, and it'll be doubling down on that atonement stuff that we've been playing with for the first arc, because all these lives he's been trying to atone for, and now he's turned into something terrible again.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of good stuff that can come out of this in the aftermath.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. It was just the getting to the Sky Tyrant and seeing here, just like in Supergirl, you have the Doom signal, basically. Very much reminds me of the Dark Mark from Harry Potter.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right? So we're getting all that. So now we know at least 3 here. I don't think this counts as spoilers now that they've showed up in the books. But you got
Yeah,
Sky
once
Tyrant
they're
for
out, it's fair
Hawkman.
game.
You'll have Supergirl, whatever name she goes with, and now you have, Evil Shazam.
Yeah.
So, and there's still 3 more at play here if we're not counting Gordon. I think Gordon's one of them. So that's 4. So that's
Yeah,
2
I'm not
more.
sure. Is Gordon count as one of the 6, or is it 6 heroes plus Gordon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out soon enough though, because we'll. There's another one that I've seen from previews.
Yeah.
That we'll.
I'm
we'll
sure
get
they'll be
on
popping
with
up soon
others.
enough because they seem to be happening at a pretty speedy pace.
Rapid pace right now.
I will
So-
say I appreciate that they're actually doing these in their own books and leading into it.
Yep.
It makes it, when we get to that, it doesn't just feel out of nowhere and this complete separate thing. It's like no. These characters have been doing that for 6-10 issues, depending on we've been saying this about Hawkman for probably since issue 12, maybe
Yeah.
13. So it's gradually been building there. It doesn't feel out of nowhere, and I do appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah. So they're counting Gordon as one of them.
Okay.
So that's 1, 2, 3 that we know, plus Gordon, and then there was the 2 other secret ones, which I'll keep a secret since you don't seem to know. But,
I've seen the image, I'm sure. I'm just not recalling exactly.
yeah. So that's fine.
Yeah.
But
we'll get
yeah.
there.
mhm.
No, I think I like this issue more than you did. 'Cause, I'm going to give
No,
it an 8.
that's fine. I'm gonna give this one a 7. Just story wise, it's still good. Like I'm still enjoying, but it's not at the level that I really enjoy.
I
from,
will agree. The book
Venditti.
has. It's not that it's had a downturn in quality. It's not been
No.
bad, but it's never quite lived up to the first arc with Hitch, which was special.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Although no, I like that one where he went through all those lives.
No,
Throughout
that one shot that was
time.
pretty good. Yeah.
That one issue was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool.
All right. For the video people, obviously you can see that I have been hijacked by my cat Garrus, whereas the audio people, you'll just have to imagine the feline. Do that in my Bane voice. You'll have to imagine the feline. That'll take us on. I'll do my best to cope even in this incapacitated state. But yeah, so that'll take us on to Joker Year of the Villain issue 1. John Carpenter and Anthony Burch writing with Philip Tan on art.
So Pete, you're the I'll say you're the John Carpenter expert here
Mm-hmm.
out of the 3 of us. You've seen all of his movies. He has a dark sense of humor, right?
I'll correct that slightly and say most of his movies. There's definitely a few I've not seen,
Okay.
but
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a dark sense of humor in here, especially in this issue for sure. Like,
Because what I don't think John Carpenter and dark sense of humor. When I think of him, I think dark for sure, right? That's his thing. But yeah. This issue was something. I mostly enjoyed it. Was not expecting,
You
the
were
way that it went.
you were expecting Joker and one of his goons who is mentally ill to dress up as Batman and Robin, for Joker to have his own warped sense of how Batman operates as they go around the city, choosing to kill or not kill whoever, only for the mentally ill sidekick to realise that what makes Joker kind of special is that he's not actually psychotic. He's completely
Right.
aware of what he's doing at all times.
So I like that, especially with all the Joker. I'm a little Jokered out right now. I'll say that.
Well, you got
Because the
more
movie.
coming.
Yeah. So I appreciate the sentiment. I was just like, there were certain things I was laughing at here. There's other stuff I just was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I don't know how else to go about it.
It was a bit of a slog to read. I thought the
Yeah.
lettering was a bit small, bizarrely. Like,
Yeah.
that was kind of bugging me. But there was definitely a lot of little ideas and things in there that I liked, and I don't know, like, how much of this, like, did Carpenter plot and Anthony Burch wrote the script, or was it more of a collaboration
Yeah.
in terms of the concept? I do love the idea though the director of Halloween, like one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, my favorite horror movie of all time, is been involved in writing a scene involving Condiment King.
Yes.
Which, for the record, Condiment King saying, "Mayo, I introduced myself."
So Condiment King is a fan of the dad jokes.
Condiment King is straight up with the puns, and my cat has finally left me. So
I immediately thought of you when Condiment King popped up.
Oh yeah, that was great.
So I do like certain parts, like that part's real funny and stuff, and then it gets super dark with the guy walking his dog, and then Joker saying that he had a gun on him, and so did the dog.
Oh no, I'm gonna lie, I did laugh when he said the gun has a dog too, and then he shoots the dog. That actually, that worked for me. That joke.
Not me. As a dog lover.
In a dark way, of course. I don't mean.
Yeah. So there was definitely more in line with Joker that I'm a fan of here, because the one that we've been getting up to this point throughout Rebirth, not a Joker I'm a fan of. So at least here we have this. It's definitely felt more in line with the Harleen Joker, this devious guy and whatnot, and he knows exactly what he's doing. So I like that, and I like this guy came to the Joker because he was mentally ill and thrown out of his house, and Joker offered him not a way out, but a path that no one else did. But then he sees him for what he is, and has regrets now. So I liked all that. It was just, like you said, it was a slog. Like, this could have been 8 pages shorter, and I think it would have been fine.
Yeah, it's an oversized issue, and I think they could have really it could have been a regular sized issue and told the same story, and probably worked better as a result.
More efficient, yeah.
And I'm not like Philip Tan's an artist for me that's, I don't know. Like I look at his
I don't like his Joker design. I'll say that. I don't like the smeared Joker stuff here. And I get that it was to show the followers because they all have different things. Like even at the end, the mom's like, "Is that a tattoo?" So like he tattooed his face with the Joker smile.
Yeah, it gets proper dark because at the end, like when he runs away from Joker, he goes back to his mother, and basically Joker shows up, and it turns out everything he said about his mother in front of Joker's been listening to. He's not been not paying attention. He's actually listened to every single bit of it so that he could use it against him and do something nasty at the end here. So, and that's when he has his realization. So it's a super dark, and he beats him up with a crowbar. We get the Jason Todd death essentially, where he beats up this guy. He's got dressed up as Robin with a crowbar.
Yep. And he even says that, with him dressed like this, he's like, now you're an official Robin, so yeah. But it was fine. The art was real hit or miss with me. I did get some chuckles of Joker running around with a Batman suit on. That's clearly the Adam West suit, So
yeah, there's even a scene with them like going up the side of a building, which is very reminiscent of them, ascending on the the sideways set, as it were. I mean, I read this for curiosity because I like John Carpenter, although I've never, not as a comic book writer, obviously, but it was like, oh, what's this like? And I don't know. It's weird. It's weird what he spends his time on these days. There's a lot of music. That's what he spends a lot of his time on.
Yeah. And okaying a not so good, not so good reboot, last third, which is getting sequels. Did you know it was getting sequels, Pete? I didn't know that until this week.
What?
The Halloween.
Oh yeah. Halloween reboot. Kills and Halloween Ends. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't hear. All these pictures had made its way out.
They have been announcing so many characters and places coming back from the first couple of Halloween movies.
Oh, that's right. I remember hearing about because we talked about Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Tommy Doyle's there, but it's Anthony Michael Hall, and the actress who played Lindsay Wallace is actually coming back to play her, which I think must feel like shit for the original actor for Tommy Wallace who's been recast. But Lindsay Wallace gets the same actress; she gets to come back all these years later.
Right.
But apparently she's some reality TV star, so she's actually kind of a celebrity still, or whatever.
Yeah. But anyways, it was whatever Carpenter's doing, usually I'm good. Pete disappeared. So,
I'm back. I was letting a cat out. Come on,
There
Matt.
he is.
You should be used to me doing that by now.
Yeah, no, but I just looked up real quick and you were gone. So,
Yeah.
but so I guess I have nothing else to add on this one. It was just, well, it wasn't in my favorite year of the villains that I've read so far. So far, those go to the Mark Russell one. Although the Taylor Black Mask I enjoyed too.
This is the only. Well, I read the Black Mask one, didn't I? I read the Black Mask one, but I didn't read the Russell ones, even though they're probably the best ones. Because I wasn't going to read this. I thought I'd run out of time to even bother with this one. It was just you were running late, so I was like, well, I'll read it, I guess.
Yeah, I woke up late. I was in the middle of eating breakfast, and I'm like, I still have a comic to read. So
I thought I'd squeeze it in because I had a bit of extra time, but I wouldn't recommend to say anyone has to go and read it. It's readable. It's got a couple of funny dark humor moments, but it's not like anything else really worth mentioning. And the art is kind of, I would put the art at somewhere in the sort of a middling kind of range for me. What are you giving it?
I'm gonna give this one a 7.
Okay, I'd probably go with something more like a 6.5. I think because
that's fair.
Some of the things in here I like, some dark moments I like, but it is a bit of a slog and the pacing's all over the place.
I'll go with 6.5 as well then.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm still trying to adjust my I don't like giving below a 7, Pete. So like I have to adjust.
I know. But not painful either though. It's not like a.
No, like I'm not upset that I read it. I felt the time and so I'm trying to get it read so we can go and stuff, and then but then if you're agreeing that it was a slog as well, yeah.
Maybe you'd have been better doing the Black Label book instead because it was shorter.
Yep.
And maybe that would be more interesting to talk about. That said, though, Connor read that.
How long was this book?
It was just the like all the other Year of the Villain specials. It's the annual sized kind of page count.
Well, the Black Label one was as well, wasn't it?
No, the Black Label one wasn't. I don't think.
Sure, it was longer.
No, Black Label because I went over to it's about 30 pages. So.
Is it longer?
Yeah.
I'm looking. Hold on.
Well, it's not as long as the Joker one.
This one's 34 pages, so it's a little bit bigger.
It felt longer anyway.
Let's see. Black Mask, Sinestro, Riddler, Joker, Lex. Yeah, so far this is probably my least favorite. Shocking, right?
Anyway, that'll take me on. I think I'm the only one who tried the Batman's Grave, or did?
No, I tried it.
Oh, you tried it? Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
That's the second book today that I thought Connor hadn't read, but he had. So this is Warren Ellis writing, with Bryan Hitch on art. And Connor, you don't typically like Warren Ellis, right?
Yeah, I only tried it because Matt was running late, so I had time. So I thought, well, I'll give it a try.
Isn't that funny? Both of us read an extra book.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Don't think I would have missed much if I hadn't read it. It's fine. I really like the art. Hitch is doing some good work.
It sets up this thematic thing at the start where there's a grave for Bruce next to his parents, and Alfred's like terrified that he's going to fill it. It's like he knows he's going to fill it before he's gone. He'll be here to bury Bruce. But the actual story is a serial killer story. There's a call about a murder that the police aren't really responding to, so Batman goes in. And it's kind of, and I was kind of into this because it was a crime scene. There is a scene where he saves like a couple, a gay couple who are walking with their kid, from some thugs. Mainly for the because it's like in an alleyway.
It's an alleyway after the cinema.
Yeah, after the movie theater.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so Alfred has a couple of like dark light. Well, not dark. Alfred's not a cruel person, but he cracks like a alleyway after a movie theater. You should start like what was he says.
Stepping on.
You may as well leave business cards behind for your stalkers. I think that's what he says.
Yeah, I want to say when the guys are there to attack him, that's one of my least favorite lines of dialogue in this book. One of the guys with the gun says, "Oh, we scorn your badge, we scorn your control, we scorn your life." Like, what the hell are you doing? Just shoot him.
This is a. Well, why would you want him to just shoot him? He's the bad guy.
No, I know, but if he's gonna stand there and monologue and say something, I don't know. That was such awkwardly written dialogue from this thug that it just felt weird.
Oh, I'm sorry. No villain in the history of media has ever monologued before they do their bad thing before.
They can monologue, but this is a seemingly random thug in the street with pulling the gun on the couple, and it was such a weird phrase for this thug to kind of come out with. That
he's an
I didn't
eccentric
buy it.
thug. All right, what do you want from him? He's an
Bad
eccentric thug.
dialogue.
Anyway,
Eccentric Thug's my favorite punk band.
So yeah, Batman goes to this apartment. He hears from the neighbors like what they've been smelling and whatever, and he goes in, and this dead guy's got like Batman like newspaper clippings all over the walls, and he's been rotting there on the sort of sofa bed for a while. And Batman like takes a scan of the room. He sends some information to Alfred. And I think what I liked about this is it is very much a crime solving Bat book where Bruce comes home and Alfred's drinking some whiskey or something. I don't know what he's drinking.
It was McCallum.
And
Connor, what's he drinking?
Yeah, well, they called it McCallum. Clearly, it's just meant to be
Scotch.
McCallum. Yeah, Scotch. I don't know why they felt the need to change the name when no one ever really does when it's McCallum.
So I said whiskey, and I think I was close enough then. Okay, that's.
I mean, you were right.
That's broadly correct. Yes, good.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What's the difference between Scotch and whiskey besides where it's made, Connor? Is there a big difference?
No, Scotch is just
in
a type
taste?
of whiskey.
Right.
That obviously has to be made in Scotland.
It's just Scottish
as
whiskey.
The name would suggest, yeah.
No, I know, but doesn't it have to have like a peaty flavor too?
No,
like, that's
no,
more...
not at all.
No.
Only one area of Scotland really does the peaty stuff.
Okay.
It's just what people think of as Scotch whiskey is the really peaty stuff, but it's not what most people actually drink.
Question: is any whiskey made in Scotland Scotch, or is it just a specific type?
That's what I was thinking.
There is a couple of restrictions. Basically, it has to be distilled, aged in oak barrels, and then bottled while it's in Scotland. As long as it meets those requirements, it is Scotch whiskey. But American whiskey has way more restrictive categories than that. Scotland's pretty
like
broad
bourbon.
in what it accepts.
Yeah.
Bourbon
to be an actual bourbon or versus whiskey and
like bourbon's super restrictive, where it has to not just be in oak barrels, it has to be new oak barrels. So so you have to get rid of the barrel once you use it. Yeah.
Yep.
It's super restrictive.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So we're weaponizing Connor's alcoholism here, guys.
Apparently, yes. So yeah, Alfred's doing his usual thing, but he's a bit more miserable. Like, he's not being snappy, Alfred. He's being kind of like, I'm having a drink to kind of calm myself because I'm always worried about you, and you could really do with because he even kind of like loosely suggests like, thinking as a soldier, he's like, it would just be easier to kill them all. But I kind of took it as he's not seriously suggesting this. He's just kind of like going through the thought process.
As a soldier, you would think, because his point is that, hey Bruce, this is a war zone, but I think you're the only person in it that doesn't realize it's a war zone. You're kind of treating it like a game.
And even when he gets back though, he took a scan of the crime scene, so he actually does like a sort of virtual reality like crime scene thing when he gets back, and looks around and tries to figure out what's going on, and he sort of discovers through the evidence that this person was a bit of a loner. He lost everything, and he got this shitty little apartment. But recently, he made one new friend, and he's bought an extra mug for that new friend. And I kind of like this kind of the deducing, throughout it. And then it was like, oh well, the one friend has to be the killer essentially. This person was getting close to him to lure him in, and it kind of plays with like. Bruce is the person, and then Bruce is just watching the person. It kind of plays with like who we're actually looking at in each of the parts of the reconstruction and the virtual crime scene. And Batman, has his realization, and he races back to the crime scene, and discovers that the killer is actually hiding under the floorboards under the bed. It ends with this kind of like demented serial killer kind of close up of him just saying he was lonely. But although I wasn't sure, I was wondering if this was actually doing a bit of a switcheroo here, where it was actually the guy who lives here who's the killer, and it's the friend who's on the bed.
That was the impression I got.
Yeah, I got that impression because he says, it's the way his line says, "I was lonely." It makes me think it was the guy living here that did the killing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So.
There's definitely some stuff I like in this. When we're in the kind of reconstruction to do the detective, and like you say, it plays it like we see the victim, lying there on the bed and sitting up, and it's talking. It's clearly Bruce talking as the victim, and it goes back to Alfred, because he's like, hey, you don't know how to get into the mind of the killers, or I think it's as Bruce maybe says as well, but he can't think like the killers. He can only think like a victim, which I think is what separates that from most of these, crime reconstruction profiling. You've seen it a million times on TV at this point.
Yeah. But it does that thing where Bruce kind of becomes the victim. He's wearing the suit, and it kind of switches around.
But it's different he becomes the victim instead of becoming the killer, which is what the usual thing in this is.
But the twist here at the end being that what he thought was the victim is the killer. So it does this kind of switcheroo on him where he's kind of realised that he was thinking as the killer in a bizarre way.
Yeah, you just didn't realise it. I like that in theory.
In theory.
Well, I really like the idea. I just think a lot of the dialogue is awkward, which kind of makes it stilted for me. It's my problem with Ellis.
I actually quite enjoyed this issue. At least Hitch's art was actually pretty solid, which is, I can't believe I'm saying that these days about Hitch, but it started off with this kind of this somber tone, and if we're doing like Seven in Batman, like we're doing like serial killers and stuff. I mean, he's already found this guy, so I mean, obviously there's going to be more plot next time, but. Yeah. If that's the sort of tone we're going with for this, I could be quite into that. So yeah, this is the Batman's Grave issue 1. What are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it a 6 because I really like the art and I like some of the ideas, but just dialogue just falters for me.
Okay. I'm probably gonna give it an 8. I thought it was pretty good, and I'm intrigued. I do want to read the next one. We'll see how busy the schedule is, but I think I'm going to try and read the next one. I was into it. So that'll take us out to the final book of the week, which is a new Black Label book. It is Joker Harley, Criminal Sanity, issue 1, with Cami Garcia writing, with Mike Mayhew and Mico suing on art. So, and the art is probably something we're going to be talking about a lot in this, because the art is...
Do you know which is which in terms of the different sections? Because I'm not sure without looking up. I don't know if you happen to know.
Oh, I knew because the variant cover's by the one that's in colour. So if you look at the variant cover, the cover artist does.
Which because there's a Joker variant by Simon.
I'm going. I don't need to explain it. I'm going. It's a waste of time. Where is it? Here we go. Mike Mayhew is the one that's in colour.
Okay. That's good to know.
So, the art is pretty notable in this. Whether or not you like it is probably depending on taste. Because the stuff that's in colour, Mike Mayhew's art, is extremely lifelike, to the point where you're kind of convinced like some photographs were used for referencing to really nail like...
Yeah, I dislike a lot of it because... there are a lot of panels where I can feel the reference image where it feels like it's just there. Okay, this is what we had. It's not quite lining up with how it should.
There's definitely some panels like that. There's one early on, the first color scene, because the color scenes are all flashbacks, because it's this kind of, it's this very out of continuity thing where Harley is helping the police hunt serial killers.
She's an FBI profiler, essentially.
Yeah. She's helping Gordon hunt serial killers, and Joker is a serial killer. And she's investigating, and all that stuff's in black and white. That's the other art, which typically looks very good, I think.
Yeah, I really like the black and white.
It's really pretty stuff. And then you get to the color stuff, which is the flashbacks, and we find out that Harley's wife was killed, and she's called Edie, but she looks like Poison Ivy when we see the body. Like they're definitely playing with like our expectations. So, but she comes back and she's in like her hospital scrubs or whatever, and the panel, she's eating like Chinese food out of the red carton, and it's the one where she's like sort of holding it up and she's looking off to the side, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks like someone's like traced that from a porn scene.
No, here's the thing: if you zoom in, you can see like the shadow line on the neck, and it's like, okay, this is where the cutoff was, where we were tracing, and the rest of it's the person underneath. And then the hands are really weird as well. Like, I don't know what it is. There's this weird disconnect where around some of the fingers there's like a black outline. Others it just kind of vanishes, and it gives this weird impression where the people do not meld with the backgrounds whatsoever, because the backgrounds feel very traditionally drawn, like but then the people just look like these traced images that are super realistic. and it just doesn't quite fit in together. There's like this jarring mesh between them.
Joe is so weird though. Is that there's definitely like panels where it works better than it does others. Because there's panels where it's wider, so maybe there was nothing to trace, so it's more a consistent style. It looks better. I think the last panel in that first flashback page, that 2-page layout, where it's just a sort of the scream, kind of like gasping, because it's a close up and because there's no background, it actually looks quite good because it's just that.
Yeah, when you take it on its own, there's nothing for it to distract against. It looks all right, yeah.
I like. Do you know what it reminds me of in a weird way? It reminds me of how they used to do some video games, like the old Mortal Kombat games, where they'd have actors and put it into the game. It's giving me that kind of vibe, and in that sense, it's kind of working in some panels in this weird way. But there's definitely other ones where it just looks.
I think there's too many panels where I just find it distracting.
My problem is not the contrast with the backgrounds. I know you don't like that. I actually don't necessarily care about that if that's going to be a consistent style with it, and if it's going to be just the feeling that it has. My problem is that sometimes the expressions just feel like they don't really match what's supposed to be going on during the panel. And I'm thinking of that one where she's eating the Chinese food and looking over to the side. Not the one where she's actually got a little bit sticking out of her mouth. I actually think that one looks good. That one looks like, yeah, she's middle of eating Chinese food and she's just kind of looking over. But the one at the bottom before that, where her mouth's kind of open, she's looking over to the side, it looks like obscenely erotic for some reason, and there's like no reason for it.
Do you know what's annoying as well? I think if this was the whole book, I would maybe get used to it. I don't know. The fact that we have it contrasted with the black and white, not super realistic at all. This lovely pencil grayscale stuff. It feels so jarring whenever we cut between them. Yeah.
So the actual plot of this, Harley's hunting a serial killer. The Joker, who's kind of a myth at this point. There is a Batman. There's evidence of a Batman in one of the flashbacks, so we know that Batman exists. But because I wasn't sure if he was going to. Honestly, the way this book sets it all up, it just kind of feels like, no, we're in a world where Joker's a serial killer.
It does feel like no Batman for most of the book.
Yeah. And she goes investigating and looking into things. She wants to find this because the Joker killed her wife, and she has this rivalry with one of the cops who's like pissed that she's always solving cases because she's better at it than they are. So she has this kind of fight back from him. But we find out about the first victim, this Mick Kelly, and he had a son who I think is the obvious candidate to be the Joker right now, just based on kind of what the story is. He's this awful father who beats up his son a lot, and then he turns out to be the first victim. It kind of sounds like it might turn out to be this kid. Kelly kid who turns out to be Joker, but she goes to this bartender to ask about him, and again we get flashbacks, and again some of the faces work and some of them really don't in this flashback art. But it sets this kind of thing up. It's definitely doing that criminal investigation thing as opposed to what we typically do with these types of stories. And it is very moody. I think I like the mood a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's another body pops up at Arkham. Sorry, it's Gotham Cemetery. Sorry, I saw the gate there and my mind went straight to Arkham. And the body's laid out like the Da Vinci pose, with the circle.
The Vitruvian Man.
Thank you.
Yes, and you have one of the cops being a uneducated swine, thinking it's just some cult ritual pose, and Harley's there no, this is very clear what this is.
Yeah, it's the one who's got a rivalry with her. He hates her guts, Maddox. He's ready to just jump down her throat. And we also see that she's giving lectures at the local college. She's talking about how not all serial killers are necessarily psychopaths. It's almost feeding into what we were talking about in the Year of the Villain one shot. This idea that some of them are actually very aware of what they're doing, and they're not because the definition of being insane or being psychotic. Sure, she's saying they're depraved, but being psychotic usually means that you're substituting reality for something else. You believe something, and despite what's actually in front of you, and that's not necessarily true. And she actually goes through a lot of real serial killers. She talks about Ed Gein. She talks about Ted Bundy. She talks about all these different serial killers. The killer clown. And
I thought this is interesting, because we watched Mindhunter not so long ago.
This is very Mindhunter.
It was. And we were like, okay, do they still use some of these words? Because like they in mind how the categorize them into organized and disorganized.
Yeah, she brings
And there
it
was a
up.
bit where they started feeling like they were moving away from that, and we were like, oh, did they stop using that at some point? And then I guess maybe not, because it's being used here quite regularly.
I can tell you from the amount of murder stuff my wife watches, they still use stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
And I really liked this part of it. I really liked her bringing up real... Like, I think this reimagining of the Joker is just a straight-up kind of, like, serial killer. And, like...
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're going to do here, because this is, like, 9 issues long or something like that. I don't know what they're going to do here. Like, are they going to actually also do an origin thing, like Harleen, where she's going to become Harley Quinn? Or is this just a straight, no, this is who she is in this world, and she's hunting the Joker?
I don't know, and I'm kind of okay if it is just what this here. I might even prefer it, because Harleen is setting up to be the definitive origin, right? I mean,
I think even if this does turn out to be like some weird alternate origin, it does kind of work because it is so because it's not like because Harleen, even though it's set in its own little bubble, is still very much, like I said when we talked about it, what you could slot in as kind of your origin of Harley Quinn that feeds into whatever continuity you want.
Yeah.
This is like such a separate world doing separate things.
This is clearly never Harley Quinn as we see her in the DC universe.
Yeah, like will she go crazy by the end and kind of adopt a look of Harley Quinn to fight the Joker or something? Yeah, I could see that or something, but
or to lure him out and it backfires on her.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, they're finding Boy. Honestly, like I like this book a lot, and I think I liked it because it was such a different thing. I can't believe I'm saying I like a second Harley Quinn book, but it's not Harley Quinn, not in the way that we think of her.
No, this is. I mean, we spoke about with Harleen that it was very different to what we expect from a Harley book, but you know, this is even further off. That it's borderline not Harley Quinn, right? Yeah, you know, you could have slotted in different characters to this and just changed the names, and as of this issue anyway, it would work. It's
the true idea of an Elseworld where it just completely changes like how things work and what it's so. I really like the mood. I really like the tone. Obviously, the flashbacks, which are definitely the lesser part of the book, because there's not as many of those pages as there are the black and white stuff. Are very hit and miss.
There's like one page from the flashback stuff that I really love. It's one of the double page spreads. It's actually only one side of it though. When the car goes underwater, on the left you have like the close ups, the faces trying to breathe, the bubbles coming out, and it's got a really nice layout to it. It's not in this just neat box. I think that's a really nice panel.
Yeah, and I will say the next issue page after which I will say my one complaint about the book, maybe outside of like thinking some of the art that feels off, is the ending feels oddly anticlimactic. It just kind of ends.
Yeah, I turned the page and went, wait, was that the end? I went back to read the last couple of panels again.
Just to say, like, that didn't really feel that climactic. But I will say the tease of the Joker on this like next time page and what he looks like in this world. He looks like a vicious serial killer. He looks demented, and I'm actually kind of excited for that because I like a scary Joker. I always have.
Just a fun thing. I read this first, and then the next book I read was Wonder Woman. And the final panel of this book is talking about tigers hiding in the tall grass. And then right at the start of Wonder Woman, it's no. In the start of Wonder Woman, there's an actual panel talking about lions in the tall grass.
Yeah.
And I laughed because I read those back to back.
That is pretty funny. No, I actually like this a lot. It's not as good as Harleen, but I mean that bar was so high that like I can't really fault it.
Hearing you guys talk about it, I wish I would have read this instead of the Joker one for sure.
I think you've been to it's a quicker read than you might think. I don't think this one dragged on at all. I think it was quite easy.
Also, did you guys figure out, because I was looking up hockey stuff early on, did you figure out who the artists are? Because I did. Which one did which?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayhew's the color artist who does the flashbacks, and the other's the black and white stuff. So no, I was quite into this. I'm actually looking forward to reading more. Honestly, Black Label putting out good books is both good and bad. So thank you for that, DC, you pricks.
It makes it feel like we actually want to check these out now because they can be quite good.
Well, I'm not going to necessarily say this for this time, but when Harleen came out, it was the best book of that week by a mile. So
it wasn't even close.
I think it'd be foolish not to read these Black Label books, or at least try them. When issue ones drop. So,
but then it's like, oh my god, so many more books all of a sudden.
Hey, it means
that's why I didn't get to it.
It means when Steve Orlando's on Wonder Woman, it's an easier drop because there's other more important books to read.
Yeah.
Who says we have to always focus on the continuity stuff? Like sometimes the other stuff's going to be better.
It's true.
And that's just the way it is. But I quite liked it. I dare say loved it, actually.
Okay.
Borderline. It's getting there. I want to see where it goes before I really, commit to that. But yeah. But if I'm rating it, I'll even go first. I'll give it an 8.5.
Oh. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Mostly for the art in the other section that I'm knocking it down. To be honest, it's not even bad. It's just distracting to me, and that kind of ruins the flow for me.
I kind of liked the aesthetic of it. I just think some of the expressions were clearly not quite right for the panels.
Yeah.
And it was especially the women, because there was a couple of panels where it looked like they traced it from a porn star, and that is really distracting.
Yeah, it really did. And as I say, it's not terrible. I like the tone of it, but yeah, it was bugging me.
But hey, so there you go. That's Joker Harley Criminal Sanity. So we'll dive into more of that as it goes. Because I think we're both going back for it, right? Like we both seem to like this.
Unless the week that it's on is terrifyingly busy. Yeah, I'm here.
Aye, but cool. And Matt might even catch up because he looked intrigued. So. That is the last book, which means we can now talk about our favourite stuff of the week. We do our favourite panel / moment, we do our favourite cover, favourite art, and top 5 books. And given I had 9 this week, that's actually quite a meaningful thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the 5 books I read. So we'll start off with best panel / moment, and I will go to Matt, who's been quiet for the last 2 books because he was hadn't read those 2.
Yep.
So what you got?
So in mine, it's from Event Leviathan. And it's when they're in the bat tank, and it's Damian and Bruce, going back and forth of who this could be, and just the whole payoff for that. It was real good. So, since Pete's not here, Connor, what's yours?
Yes, that was the obvious thing to do. Yes, if I'm not there, just go to the next person. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go with the Vitruvian Man. From Joker Harley. That was a great kind of image when that just popped up. And it's this stitched on arms and legs from someone else. Kind of horrifying, but great.
Yeah, that's a good one. This is tough. I don't actually have a standout one that's like screaming itself at me this week. I think I might go. I mean, this is kind of cheating. It's like 4 pages, but I honestly think from Joker Harley, the serial killer stuff, like that whole segment was kind of.
It's a great sequence, but yeah, Jews, dude, like 4 or 5 pages. Come on.
I know, but like.
You got to pick one.
I got to pick one. All right. Killer Clown then. Maybe because it's the most
from outer space.
It's the most thematic one that's relevant, I suppose. I don't know. I like the whole thing.
I think out of those pages, I would have gone with the first one because it's Ed Gein and then the vampire dude, and it's got just those splattering of red, and it's like the only color in this section with this black and white bit, and it pops.
Sure.
It's good.
All right. Favorite cover, Matt.
The Event Leviathan variant's pretty cool. So is the Event Leviathan cover. So it's between those 2. I'll go with the variant.
Yeah, I was looking at the variant because it's the Mac cover.
It's really good.
The splashes of paint, as Mac often looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's really good. Yeah, the Joker Harley variant, because maybe that artist is better suited to covers, given that it's not.
Which one? Because they both did a variant. One did Joker, one did Harley.
Well, I'm talking about the color one, because I'm saying that style is maybe better suited to covers than it is sequential. Let me look at the other one, though. That one's pretty good as well, actually. Black and white one, where it's just it's like clearly serial killer Joker about to cut someone up, but he's all in silhouette.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's not bad. I would agree with Matt though and go with the Mac Leviathan cover, but those Joker Harley covers are all pretty solid.
I hate to admit, but I might go with that Event Leviathan cover as well. That's quite nice. That's a nice cover. And I'll be honest, there's not a lot of covers jumping at me this week.
Yeah, that was the thing. And it was going to be Event Leviathan, but both covers I like. That's what
I just love Connor's kind of picking a Bendis thing. I just love it.
I mean, I'm picking a Mac thing.
Yeah.
It's a Bendis thing. So that'll take us on to best art of the week. And Matt, what have you got for this?
It's Maleev.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. Connor?
I'll probably go with Hitch for Batman's Grave. I mean, I want to pick Joker Harley for the black and white section, but I can't. It's not consistent enough throughout the book for me to pick that overall. So I'll go with Hitch for Batman's Grave.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to Maleev as well, but I want to shout out to both Supergirl and Batman and the Outsiders for having really solid art. But Maleev will take the win. So okay, top 5 books of the week, Matt. Go.
Number 1, Event Leviathan. Number 2, Supergirl. Number 3, Superman. Number 4, Batman and the Outsiders. Number 5, Wonder Twins. Boom.
Okay, Connor.
So I'll go Wonder Twins, Hawkman, Joker Harley, Batman the Outsiders, and Flash. Yeah.
Okay. This is a tough one for me this week. Yeah, I'll probably go Event Leviathan at number 1. I'll go with Joker Harley at number 2. Number 3, Batman's Grave. Number 4, Supergirl. And then number 5, actually no, number 4 put Batman the Outsiders, and then number 5, Supergirl. There you go. There you go. So that is our picks of the week. And that will lead us on to me telling you what's coming next week, which is what we do at this part of the show. So coming next week, traditionally week 3 is a quieter week, but we'll see how it actually is this time. We get Aquaman 53, we have Batman 81, Flash Forward issue 2 is out. Dare you take the plunge on that. You got Inferior 5 issue 2, you have Justice League 34, you have Metal Men issue 1, so that's starting next week.
I'm excited for it, and I'm prepared to look like a fool for that.
I'll give it a try. I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I'll give it a try. Nightwing 65 is out. Yeah, you know.
Hey guys, remember when we read Nightwing? Those were the days.
Patiently waiting for a relaunch. Superman Smashes the Klan issue 1 is out, although probably worth mentioning though it's like 80 pages, so
that's so I was gonna hold off on this, right? But I just might have to get it.
Whoa.
I don't know if I'm gonna read it. Like I was gonna wait for the trade.
Sure.
Right? But seeing that cover and then Yang, I just
But you're not promising you'll be able to talk about it on the show, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's it. I'm looking how low the week is too, for money wise.
Yeah. To be fair, there's not a huge amount of books next week.
No, but also I'm just saying 80 pages is a lot, Connor.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if there's 1 week out of the month, you might be able to get away with it.
Yeah.
This is probably the week. But
then there's other ones that are coming up that I'm definitely going to read.
Well, yeah, hold on. Well, I'm going to keep going here. Superman Year 1, issue 3. So Matt's definitely reading that.
No.
Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, issue 4.
Yes.
You have Teen Titans 35, which we've not been covering.
You've just skipped over Tales from the Dark Multiverse.
Batman Nightfall. And that's why I might have an issue reading Superman Smashes the Klan next week, because these tend to be a little bit bigger, and it's Kyle Higgins.
I'm not going to lie, my eyes went over that because it looks like one of those bullshit things that I always skip, because sometimes you get these weird reprints of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd forgotten that was a thing. And then we have next to the Walmart reprints for Titans Burning Rage issue 3, and then you have Wonder Woman Come Back to Me issue 4, which again Walmart reprint, and then there's Wonder Woman Giant issue 1, which is those big 100
which
page
has a
things.
New Amanda Connor, Jimmy Palmiotti story.
And I want
Commitment
to say,
to Chaos.
Disappointed they didn't go up on Comixology this week.
Yeah.
Because I missed out on a Tom Taylor story, and that's unacceptable.
They'll be up there soon enough, though.
Probably when they're all done. The arc's done. That's what I'd imagine.
Yeah. But by my count, that's only like 6 books, I think, plus Superman Smashes the Klan.
3.
But I will not be here next week, and possibly not the week after either.
Wait, is there a Secret Doomsday Clock coming out?
One can hope. One can hope. I've only got like 4 books. Maybe I'll read Smashes the Klan.
Yeah. I miss a quiet week.
Yeah, I've only got Aquaman, Batman, Justice League, and Metal Men. That's all I've got, because I dropped Olsen. So
I've got 5. It's short. That I mean, I might be able to get my books read before I go and actually, send on some thoughts. We'll see.
I have 6, and then if I add Smash of the Clan, that's 8. But that's really now you're adding like an 80-page.
That's math. Is something else.
No, because that's like 3 issues, right? Like 80 pages.
That's not the problem. You went from I've got 6, but if you add that, I've got 8.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and Smash of the Clan. That's like 3.
Yeah, but
what
what does
it bring you? 9.
3, not 2. I'm gonna say 9.
Okay. Like it was too much in between. It was like we had accepted going up to 7 because it's just technically one book, and we would have accepted.
But it counts as more.
We would have accepted maybe 10 or 11 because it's like 3 or 4 issues or whatever. But you went to 8. that makes sense.
Well, because I just did what Pete did, and I didn't count Nightfall. So then, So
sure.
When I did my math for Smash of the Clan, I forgot to add that.
Okay,
so I went from 5 to 8.
I'll get 5 then. I got 5 books then if I didn't Nightfall issue. That's true.
Yeah.
Fair point. Yeah, so we'll probably do questions next week. So I'll ask on Twitter, but if you want to send questions to mftvquestions@gmail.com, you can send questions there, and we will do a bunch of them next week. You can also send questions to us on Twitter @DC Comics Podcast. I will ask as well, coming up close to the next episode.
Did you happen to ask this week about
No.
listeners?
No, that's clearly done. I've not done that like a month. Like it's clearly not something that's happening.
It's just give you shit for it every so often.
So you can send out questions in those methods. Please do, because we probably do need them next week. Unless me and Matt read Smashes the Clan, in which case we'll talk about that for.
Or you can just talk about wrestling for an hour without me.
No, because I'll get cut and put in Patreon, so that won't be part of the.
That's true.
That will be part of the actual show. So you can send in your questions about various DC things, even some non-DC things, should you wish. We won't be mad if you ask us about movies or I don't know, food. What else do we talk about on here? But send out your questions, mftvquestions@gmail.com, as well as Twitter @DC Comics Podcast, which you should follow anyway for updates and things of that nature. You can, of course, support everything we do over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month, and help keep all the content coming. Not even just the comics podcast, but of course all the other stuff we do that you can check out, movie podcasts, TV reviews. You can, of course, this month check out a variety of episodes of our horror movie podcast, Screams After Midnight, because it's October and we do a lot of special episodes for that. So me and Tim have been cranking them out every single day, which is normally a weekly show with the odd maybe extra one, but every single day in October. So have a look and see if you're interested in any of that, if you're into horror movies. But otherwise, that is us, right? I've not missed anything. I think that's everything. Like and subscribe,
Sure?
rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, helps more people find us, do all that stuff. All that stuff supports us, as does Patreon. So, that was episode 176 of Comics from the Multiverse. Hopefully you've had fun. We'll see you guys next time for 177 with a special Connorless episode where me and Matt will do...
Make the most of it. You might even have 2 weeks without me.
Yeah, whatever we want, basically. And we'll see how that goes. So that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching us. Keep reading DC Comics. But remember to never get lost. Yes?
We should tell them. We brought back television from the multiverse.
Yeah.
That's true. That's probably worth mentioning, actually.
Yeah,
we kind of just spaced over. It happened this week, even though we kind of said we weren't doing that.
Yeah. We've pared it down a little bit. It's not as packed as it once was, but yes, we talked about Batwoman, we talked about Supergirl, we talked about the Flash on this week's episode, and we will have it on while the CW shows are airing. So we'll talk about Crisis when it happens. All of it's happening. Yes, go check out television from the multiverse. Okay, thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Long live the Legion.